And Nitro was even worse.
Nitro.
But it was better than last week, so I hated Raw more.
All right. You grading them on a curve?
I am now after last week's Nitro. That was the worst show I've ever seen in my life.
Nitro number 151, August 3rd, 1998. The announcers explained Larry Zbyszko is trapped in a meeting with Time Warner executives. So Bobby Heenan is filling in.
Upgrade.
Well, that's true. But they said this is related to Dusty Rhodes' Texas gag order from last week, which apparently, I guess, had legal standing even outside of Texas.
You're telling me that he really had a Texas gag order put on him by Dusty Rhodes in that stupid segment?
I guess so. I guess so.
I'm turning on the show already.
Mean Gene, who was on the show at least 47 times, I'm sure, brings DDP out for a promo. And here's where it occurred to me, Road Wild is this Saturday. 5 days, they said.
Road Wild is Saturday, and this was the first Nitro where they even announced what the main event was.
Yeah.
It is Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff against DDP and Jay Leno.
Yes.
In Sturgis.
Yes.
At a free fucking show.
Yes.
On pay-per-view.
Right.
And by the way, the champion, Bill Goldberg, has no opponent for this pay-per-view.
No one bothered to book a world championship match for the pay-per-view. He had to get his own match booked.
I'm stunned.
So yes, Jay Leno in storyline going to hit the pro wrestling ring on pay-per-view with a week of training from Dallas Page.
Yeah, for real, he was training with Canyon. And
he knows moves.
This was not DDP's best promo. I've never heard him use the word scum more than in this particular pay-per-view here, or this particular interview. They plugged the pay-per-view. Think about this. Just think about this for a second. They want you, the viewer, to buy a pay-per-view where not only is the main event Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff versus Jay Leno and Diamond Dallas Page, but DDP, in his interview hyping up this pay-per-view, flat out says, I had to twist Jay Leno's arm to get him into this match.
I think he was trying to be sarcastic.
Can you imagine?
I think he was trying to be sarcastic.
Well, he did a poor job because I believed he had to twist Jay's arm.
Well, there's more. Page finishes. He announces the match. He goes to leave through the crowd. But Jimmy Hart and Barbarian come out to issue him a challenge for some reason. So it's Page versus Barbarian.
Hey, this was better than last week's opener.
Well, listen. Brian, you love the Barbarian. I love the Barbarian. I'm going to assume Craig loves the Barbarian.
Sure.
They've been doing nothing with him for months.
Nope.
And last time we saw him, he was getting beat up by his old partner, Meng.
That's right.
He comes out here. He's been doing nothing. He's not doing nothing on the pay-per-view. Page is in the main event. And think, okay, we're going to DDP showcase here. Nope. Barbarian wrestled like The Undertaker. He took 70% of the match. Page keeps going for diamond cutters out of nowhere and getting cut off. And then finally, it's time.
He's a clever savage.
It's time. Page grabs him for the cutter. And time freezes.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears that Barbarian doesn't want to go down.
No.
So Page is pulling on his head, and finally they both just fall over, and then Page pins him.
I don't know what happened here.
Wow.
Yeah, this was a day where DDP decided, well, I'm going to wrestle the Barbarian. I'm going to put this whole match together, and I'm going to work really hard and have a really good match. And technically, it wasn't bad until the end.
It was the finish was bad. The match was fine.
This was a terrible match to build up a pay-per-view main event with Diamond Dallas Page.
Yes, it was so bad that had I been in charge of this live show, I'd have sent them back in hour number 3 to do it again and do it better. To say, Page, just kill him this time. So Larry's back. He missed 15 minutes. He's going through some spiel about how there was doctored videos and people had been harassing him on the set. He said he had threatened to quit and go play golf full-time. And that was it. That was the payoff.
Yep.
What the hell was this?
Nothing changed.
Yeah. They recapped Goldberg's win over Bryan Adams last week and then getting chokeslammed by the Giant to end the show. Eric Bischoff came out to do what is hopefully his last talk show segment.
Dude.
This was another Tonight Show segment.
He only has 2 sources of material.
Yes.
He has Monica Lewinsky jokes, and he has Jay Leno's head/chin.
Right.
That's all he has.
And, I mean, before, like, sometimes he would come out and he would only do the interview segment. Sometimes he would come out and he would only do the monologue. This time he comes out here and he does an excruciating monologue. And then he goes and he interviews Hulk Hogan on a fake Tonight Show set. And Hulk Hogan is out there cutting a promo, a fighting promo on Jay Leno.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what's amazing about this?
A lot.
So we used to get the quarter hours. This did not die in the ratings.
That is
People
astonishing.
did not turn off the show during this. How? I was ready to turn off the show.
You know what was really annoying me about this? Hogan's jewelry, his necklace, kept banging into his mic. So as he's talking, you just hear this over and over again. Anyone hear that? Yeah. I was sitting in the mic. I couldn't tell. Anyway, he promised they would win at Road Wild.
So it's dreadful. Dreadful is what this was.
Had a Bret Hart video package focusing on his rivalry with Sting. Psychosis, I think, was booked against Disco Inferno.
Yes.
Disco comes out and makes a big introduction of his best friend, his tag team partner, and one of the world's hottest young dancers, Alex Wright. They play Alex's music, but it's Tokyo Magnum instead. Disco doesn't care.
Did he say Alex Wright?
No, he did
I don't
not.
think he did. I think he said, this is my partner. He's the greatest dancer of all time.
Never said Alex
You're
Wright.
supposed to think it's Alex
I
Wright.
see.
But instead, Tokyo Magnum comes out.
Apparently, their tag team broke up.
I'm going to explain all my confusions in this show due to the horrific buffering issues. So, whatever.
It had nothing to do, Vinny, with your buffering issues.
No, it just wasn't.
Well, I had to
It had
stop
to
and
do-
restart, and I missed where he started speaking.
But my point is, it had to do with this show sucking.
Well, there's that as well. That
That's
didn't
the
help
bigger
things.
issue.
Tokyo Magnum comes out to wrestle for Disco. They do about two things, and then Scott Norton comes out and kills them both, and Disco doesn't care, and he leaves.
Well, I'll tell you what you missed with your buffering. Psychosis Magnum is about to start. Norton comes out, power bombs both guys. He says, I don't have a match tonight, so I'm going to make my own. So anybody who wants a match, come out here. Hugh Morris comes out in his pajamas.
Yeah.
Norton power bombs him and then leaves.
immediately. He got no offense.
I thought he wanted a match.
I don't know. I don't know. For the second time in 20 minutes, they recap the Bret Hart Sting feud. We get it. They are not buds. We understand. Mean Gene's back. Brings Goldberg out for a promo. He says he wants the Giant Road Wild. He never mentioned, I don't think there was a Battle Royal. But he starts talking about how he'll go through anyone in either NWO to get to the Giant.
There is a battle royal on Road Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he says, I'll get through Hall, I'll get through Nash, I'll get through Sting, I'll get through Conan, whatever he says. Sting is pissed. Sting comes out to go face-to-face with Goldberg. All right, here we go. The 97 things happening at once voice. Sting came out and they went face-to-face. Giant then appeared on stage and said Goldberg didn't have to wait. Paper started to fall from the sky. Goldberg wiped out the Kurt Hennigs and Vincents of the world and chased Giant backstage. Bret ran out and ran past them to grab Sting. Sting shoved him aside and ran to the back.
Yeah, buried in what Vince just recounted there was that randomly NWO flyers began falling from the ceiling. Mm-hmm. I don't know why.
No one knows why.
It was never mentioned again.
No one knows why.
It was weird. This show is weird.
It's like he found them backstage and said, we got to use these at some point. Enough
Yeah.
for today.
Let's drop them.
The Flyers said, Goldberg, you're next.
Woo. This was a mess. Backstage, Sting found Lex Luger laid out.
Oh my God. So Sting is supposed to team with Luger tonight against Scott Hall and the Giant.
Correct.
So Luger is laid out backstage. None of the announcers can identify Lex Luger. Okay, listen.
Sure.
How many guys look like Lex Luger?
Few.
I mean, for fuck's sake.
Like one.
Sting goes down there. He kneels down next to his friend. He puts his hand on him. And then he stands up and he walks away.
Right.
Later, guys come in to tend to Lex Luger. Sting left him for dead. Tony Schiavone then alerts us, hey, we have been alerted. That's Lex Luger. And I know where Sting is. He's leaving the building.
By the way, if I see one of you passed out in a hallway, I'm not going to assume somebody's going to come scoop you up. I'm going to stay there with you until the EMTs arrive.
Thank you, Craig.
I'm just telling you that right now.
Thank you, Craig.
I'm not leaving the building.
It's reasonable because I'm often confused with Lex Luger. Anyway. Let's make more jokes about me and Lex because I don't want to talk about Hacksaw Jim Duggan in
Hey,
1998.
let's be honest, okay? It was Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Bryan Adams. I looked at the screen. I screamed. I expected the worst match I've ever seen in my entire life. And given how terrible last week's show was and my exceedingly low expectations, this was okay.
Are you fucking high?
Until this goddamn fucking finish.
May I?
Go for it.
First of all, I disagree it was okay, but that's not worth that. That's not a hill to die on. So, Vincent jumps in the apron.
Excuse me, he jumped on the apron. Yeah. Vincent.
Yeah.
Okay.
The apron. Duggan goes after Vincent. Crush goes to kick Duggan. Mm-hmm. Duggan dodges. Adam's foot waves in the general vicinity of Vincent's head, which causes Vincent to go flying. Adams then places his foot through the ropes, not over the ropes, through the ropes, and on the apron. Hacksaw Jim Duggan grabs the middle rope and attempts to lift it up into Bryan Adams' balls. Bryan Adams is 6'6". He has to drop way, way down for his balls to hit the middle rope. Then they can't leave it alone. Hacksaw has to shake him up and down on the middle rope.
Now, if you didn't understand what Vince said, Bryan Adams is standing with one leg in the ring, one leg on the apron, straddling the middle rope. Mm-hmm. Duggan yanks it up towards his balls, but literally because Bryan Adams is so tall, it comes nowhere near his balls. And so Bryan Adams decides, I'll sit down on the rope and then sell my balls.
Yeah.
Over and over. That's not even the finish, by the way.
Oh, no, there's more.
There was more bullshit. Vincent's there, the 2x4's there.
No, don't gloss over this. Vincent gets in the fucking ring with a 2x4.
Fact.
Correct.
There ain't no ref bump.
No.
The ref is standing right there while this fucker is swinging a 2x4 at Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Duggan thwarts Vincent. He throws Vincent out of the ring. The ref is standing right there. Mm-hmm. This distraction allows Bryan Adams to hit Hacksaw Jim Duggan, pile drive him, and pin him. Hacksaw was fucked here in this match. He was screwed by a crooked referee. Of course, that's not the storyline. That's just what fucking happened. He doesn't seem to care.
But
I was so mad when this match was over.
But Vincent never made contact with Hacksaw
It doesn't matter. He was in the ring with a weapon.
I understand.
If you jump in the octagon with a gun, just because you pull the trigger doesn't mean the match is going to keep going.
I would hope if somebody pulls a gun in the octagon, there would be 10 people on top of me by then.
Yeah, well, you know what? There was nobody here. Charles Robinson let it all go on, and then Hacksaw got pinned, and this disaster was over.
He got pinned with Bryan Adams' terrible pile driver. And they had the temerity, the gall, to show a replay of that missed boot spot. First of all, I'm pretty sure my foot came closer to Vincent's head than Bryan Adams' foot did here. If you imagine Hacksaw and Vincent had not been there and just watch what Bryan Adams did, it looked like he raised his foot high in the air and then tried to stomp the middle rope as hard as he could.
Yes.
At no point was it close to the top rope or going over. Bryan Adams here was significantly worse than the vast majority of WCW Saturday Night Jobbers. This is absolutely terrible.
With no question.
This was terrible. Mean Gene's back, trying to get into Sting's locker room. Bret is there, trying to get into Sting's locker room. Gene accuses Bret of laying Luger out.
Well, Bret does show up, and in the most guilty manner possible, he goes, too bad about Lex, huh?
Bret, he's awesomely horrible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's given up.
He totally
He's
does
there
not
to cash
care.
a check. He's punch a clock, cash a check, and go home. But it's so bad, but it's so funny. So Gene accuses Bret of laying Lex out, and Bret says, hey, I'd be a better partner for Sting than Lex ever would. He wants to be Sting's partner tonight.
He says, I want Sting to know that he can trust me, and I will not let him down.
Mm-hmm. They go to commercial. They come back. Gene's still there. Now he's on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
He's giving a speech about how riding motorcycles is great for old people.
Uh-huh. Gene has never been on a bike in his life.
Actually, I'm pretty sure he rode hogs to Road Wild every year.
Yeah, you mean the animal, right? He's never been on a bike.
I think you'd be surprised.
He rode on the back of somebody else's bike then.
Sidecar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Biking, motorcycles, great for old people.
Sure, yeah.
That was his point.
I mean, if you want to die.
Raven and the Flock came out for a promo. The only good thing here is Raven had a Savatage t-shirt on. So, Raven says there's no match between Sick Boy and Canyon.
Hold on. That's a band, Brian.
Yeah. There's no match between Sick Boy and Canyon. Canyon's not here. He was rambling about Saturn and Canyon. I had zero idea what he was talking about, what his point was.
Well, he said that Canyon had been swallowed up by the darkness.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
I don't know what he's talking about either.
I wrote that down, and he kept on going. I said, you know what? I don't care. And I erased it.
Was that? No, it was the nothing on the Never-Ending Story. I'm sorry. Yeah, never mind. Go ahead.
That'd be a great angle. Why is no one ever done a Never-Ending Story gimmick?
Betray you.
So, let's see. Saturn comes out. Oh, Lodi says something to somebody, and Raven breaks his fingers. Saturn comes out. The Flock leaves. Saturn grabs Lodi by the broken fingers, hits a DVD. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea who is on whose side. I have no idea who the good guys are. And most importantly, I have no idea why I should
All
care.
I got out of this, everybody hates Lodi.
Well,
That
okay.
was abundantly
That's
clear.
fair.
Yeah.
Hey, Mean Gene's back. He still wants to talk to Sting. He looks down the hallway. Bret Hart and Scott Hall are having a clandestine conversation. And they spot him, and they go their separate ways.
This was so awesome. First off, there's two things. So Luger's gone, and so Bret is volunteering to team with Sting to take on the Giant and Scott Hall. Where's the rest of the Wolfpack? Sting has no other options. He must team with Bret Hart.
I guess.
I mean, Nash is on the show later.
So what's going on?
So then, yes, Gene looks up, and there is Bret Hart talking to Scott Hall. And as soon as they see that Gene has seen them, Hall goes running, and Bret tries to play it cool and just nonchalantly walk into his dressing room. Gene takes off after them, but his goddamn microphone cord is not long enough, and he's screaming at the guy to give him more slack. It was so great. This was worthwhile. The best thing on the show. Gene not having enough mic cord.
That was the highlights.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, because guess who was back after the break? Mean Gene goddamn Okerlund.
Yep.
His 7th appearance, we're not even halfway through the show. That's legit, by the way. I counted. So it brings up Dean Malenko. Dean says he wants to admit that Chris Jericho is the better man. Jericho comes out, and J.J. Dillon's there, and Jericho buries Malenko because now Dean never gets another title shot, and then J.J. announces that Malenko's going to be the special ref for Jericho's title defense at Road Wild.
Whoop-de-doo.
And Jericho's
I'm
pissed.
yawning.
Jericho's pissed.
Fucking show's putting me to sleep.
There's more. Jericho's pissed and he leaves. No one in this interview segment bothered to mention who was challenging Jericho for the Cruiserweight title.
Yeah.
Shivani clued us in. It's Juventud Guerrera.
You know, I gotta say, so Dean and JJ, at one point Dean actually says, "Tell him, JJ." And JJ spouts some obscure rule from the record book. Because, of course, Jericho is always finding obscure rules in the record book. So this time JJ finds one. And the rule is basically, if a wrestler is too wild and out of control, you can assign a special ref. That's fucking obscure. So he announces the special ref is Dean Malenko. And Chris Jericho flips his lid about how it's a conspiracy. And you want to know what? He's right.
Yeah.
He is 100% absolutely correct. Unlike Vince McMahon, this is undoubtedly a conspiracy to take the title off of him. He was right.
Yes, Craig?
The next match.
Finally.
A really good match. Eddie Guerrero and Juventud Guerrero. I wanted to see this match. I was excited to see this match. But I was watching this match, and it got lumped into the rest of the crap on this show, and I didn't care.
No.
This was the best match on the show, and it got lumped into all the other garbage.
The announcers outright said they hoped Malenko would be a biased ref and screw Jericho at the pay-per-view.
Told you it's a conspiracy.
They had some sloppy moments early, but by and large, as Craig said, it was a very good TV match. Hoovey's tope, holy crap. We flew over the top rope on Eddie. It was awesome. And they did some stuff. And then Eddie won clean as a sheet with a frog splash. Eddie, not Hoovey. So the challenger in 5 days for the Cruiserweight title is unnamed in the promo and then beaten by a guy who's not on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, you know what? It's almost like this show sucks.
It's almost like the show sucks. The people making it don't know what they're doing. Gene Okerlund.
There's a point of a time where I'd be watching this, and I'd see something coming up, and I'd call Cameron into the room. Come on, Cameron, you got to watch this with me. I don't even bother anymore because I was burned earlier in the program when Tokyo Magnum was going to wrestle Psychosis. I don't even bother anymore. I can't even show him the good stuff because the bad stuff outweighs the good stuff by such a huge margin.
That's true.
You know this company died?
He died of death. Gene Okerlund is back again. Gene Okerlund is sitting on a motorcycle again. Gene Okerlund goes in a promo about old men riding motorcycles again. I thought I'd rewound it somehow. No, this had to happen twice. They go to commercial, they come back, it's Liz Marks versus Stevie Ray, and Gene Okerlund is back! Get off my TV! Go away!
I mean, he's not that bad. It could be Dasha.
Yes, Stevie, why he has the TV title. Stevie claims to have legal documents from Booker T naming Stevie as the new TV champion.
See, this was one of those moments where I couldn't figure out if Gene had gone into business for himself or what. But Gene's like, that ain't legal. There's no. You tell me these are notarized. I don't see any signature here. And Stevie's like, it's right there. And Gene's like, I don't see it. And finally, Stevie just walks away.
So they're doing this match.
Oh, no.
Okay, it's a terrible match.
No. This is Liz Mark Jr., who sucked, okay? Against Stevie Ray, who sucked. And my fucking God, did they have a shitty match.
You sure did.
I mean, you think about all those shows we did at the B&I Marketplace, and there were some shitty matches on those shows. This would have fit right in. This was so horrible.
Thank God Chavo Guerrero interrupted.
Are you kidding me?
Words I've
Let me
never
tell you something.
said.
I swear to God, when I'm watching Liz Mark versus Stevie Ray, which, by the way, Liz Mark, I mentioned it before, he's horrible. He's the worst luchador they've got. They're like, well, who can put him in the ring with? I know, Stevie Ray. It's horrible. And then the moment this fucking Chavo Guerrero came out on that goddamn stick horse, I fast-forwarded. I don't know what happened. I don't care. I am done with Chavo. I'm done with him. I will not watch his segments. Do you hear me? So you can tell me what happened. I'm not watching it.
So Chavo comes out. He is wearing Stevie Ray's gloves. Because Stevie Ray didn't put on all his ring gear tonight. He says, I found these gloves in your bag. I also found this notary stamp. Now I can make marriage licenses and driver's licenses. Stevie chased him to the back. Liz Mark won by countout. And then I wrote, Jesus, this sucked.
By the way, you don't have to notarize a driver's license. That would be weird.
Yeah, you know, this kind of sucked. The storyline is stupid. Everything about it was stupid.
Conan versus Kurt Hennig.
You know what's funny is Kurt Hennig's out there and he decides, I'm going to have a good match with Conan.
Yes.
And he is bumping his ass off and he is just working like a madman.
And Conan is Conan.
And for what?
I don't know.
Did he not know the finish?
I don't know. Rick Rude was not there, so Scott Norton was in Hennig's corner. So Conan hooks the tequila sunrise. Norton takes the ref. Hennig grabs Conan, chokes him with his own chain for a while, and then hits a fisherman suplex and pins him.
It's not quite what happened. Norton kneed Conan in the back right in front of the referee. That's the second time on the show. It's like I'm watching New Japan. And not the good stuff about New Japan. The worst stuff.
So the ref counts 3. At this point, Kevin Nash hits the ring. Thank God he's here. Hennig and Orton just leave. He never comes close to touching them. They go to commercial. Kev was never on the show again. He got paid for this. To walk out the ring and not help his partner.
Well, he would have got paid.
He sure
if
did
wasn't
get
there
paid for
anyway.
this.
Chris Jericho versus Ray Jr.
Another good match.
You know what was weird about it, though, was it was actually not a good match, but there was a whole bunch of good things in the match. It was like they somehow were having a bad match, but then every, I don't know, minute or so, Ray would do something spectacular, and then it would go back to being a bad match again. There was no heat for it. There was a horrendous ref bump that looked so phony. And then the finish was Ray does a cradle, there's no ref, Dean Malenko runs down and counts the pin. They ring the bell, but the title does not change hands.
They did say it was a non-title match.
Oh.
20 minutes prior. They did say
I
that.
see.
Ray working with a massive knee brace.
Yep.
Massive.
Let's see where to begin here. They were plugging Travis Tritt's concert as much as any of the matches for Road Wild.
Yeah,
much more.
They actually said that the pay-per-view was going to go longer because you're going to get a Travis Tritt concert.
Excellent.
Yay.
That's great.
It was scheduled for 30 minutes.
Of Travis?
Yep.
That's a whole lot of country.
We had Jericho doing a press slam into a tombstone, and following that with a drop kick, I believe, from the top rope to the floor. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, what? Are you trying to kill someone on the show? And then he went to a banana splits for amateur wrestling. It's quite wacky. And then all that stuff you talked about happened. They recap the stuff with Buff Bagwell and Scott Steiner from last week, and then Scott comes out for a promo. Says his mother had called him, reminded him he's no better than anyone else, and his blood is red like anyone else's. 2 sentences, took him about 14 tries to get right. He never actually did. He removed his NWO shirt, said it was not for him, and he was quitting. He apologized to the fans, called out Rick so he could apologize to Rick too, and now comes Buff Bagwell dressed like Rick. Buff does dog tricks. Steiner gives him treats. This died a horrible death. Sometimes comedy just doesn't work. Bagwell says Scott is a great actor, tries to get Scott to cry on command, and Scott's about to when Rick hits the ring. Buff bails. So Rick Steiner's standing there with a chair, and Scott's just looking at him, and they look at each other, and look at each other, and look at each other, and then Rick just hits him with a chair. Hit him in the shoulder, so it was not in the head, but it came out, like, it was so obvious, but it still came from out of nowhere. I laughed my ass off.
And then Rick is running around ringside, swinging this chair, chasing Bagwell, and calling him a pussy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rick's insane.
He didn't care.
No.
He just did his thing and went to the back laughing.
If you had told me Rick was supposed to like drop the chair and hug his brother, but then hit him with the chair instead because he thought it'd be funny, I would totally believe that. Scott looked totally caught off guard by being hit by the chair here. I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. The Nitro Girls were dancing when Hogan and company came out for a promo.
I couldn't believe they actually, after all this time, finally did an angle based off the Nitro Girls dancing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it'd been like a year, because Savage and Liz harassed Kimberly, too. But Bischoff traps Kimberly in the ring. She is trapped in the ring, can't duck under the ropes. Even Heenan saying, crawl under the ropes. She would not. Bischoff says, you know, Kimberly, you look pretty good for trailer trash. Heenan says she does. I laughed at that, too. Bischoff says if it wasn't for him, Kimberly would be a waitress in a topless bar. She slapped him, and they grabbed her arms. Paige runs out. He gets tackled by Giant Adams. So they're both being held apart, and Bischoff starts talking about Penthouse Magazine, where it said Kimberly was the most active member of the Nitro Girls. This goes on for a while. Bischoff's taunting them both. Hogan says Kimberly's black and white from head to toe, and Vincent and Disciple start nodding. And they start beating up Paige as Kimberly looks on, and Giant chokeslams him, and finally they let her go, and Hogan says, you can come to my house if you ever need some good loving.
No, let me say what he said.
That's not exactly what he said, Vince.
He said, the next time you really need some loving, come to the House of Hollywood, because Daddy's got something for you.
Creepy.
This was so creepy. And you know what was... Here's my takeaway from this whole thing. I thought this angle was so awesome, but then it hit me that it was done to set up Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff against DDP and Jay Leno.
That's right.
Whatever. It was weird.
So they go to the announcers.
This was worth it. This was worth it. Because when this was over, we got the classic Mike Tenay disgusted look. For like 5 minutes.
Right into the camera.
Oh, yeah.
He has to be a robot.
He's an amazing robot.
So the announcers are beside themselves. They can't even speak. They just look at each other, sigh deeply. They're so appalled and offended by what's happened. Can't believe Jay Leno won't want to get involved with any of this. Neither can I. But they go on. It's like 2 minutes of gnashing and wailing, and then, folks, you don't want to miss this Travis Tritt concert. Very important.
Here's his new CD. Run out and buy it right now.
Yep. Scott Hall and the Giant versus Sting and a mystery partner. Turns out the mystery partner is Bret Hart. And then Sting's old music plays, and he drops from the ceiling back in the black and white crow makeup.
Whoa. Excuse me?
Yeah.
He dropped from the ring in his from the ceiling in his old Sting makeup?
Yep.
Why?
Don't know.
Oh, you don't say. So he just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no reason.
Oh, okay.
Old music, old makeup.
Somebody laid out Lex, so he decided, I guess, to quit the Wolfpack and be Angry Sting again.
So I'll give everybody a little bit of insight. There was a feud going on between Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash. Kevin thought that Hogan was trying to kill the Wolfpack. Now, from watching this show, it looks like he's right. The story from Kevin Nash's side was that he didn't even know that Sting was going to come down in the white outfit, the white makeup and from the ceiling. I call bullshit. You're at the building and you don't see that they're setting up somebody to come from the ceiling and you don't see Sting with white paint on instead of red. I mean, how could you not know this? But yeah, they just decided, I guess, well, we got a big buy rate when he had white paint on, so let's just do it again. When he was red, he was so happy. And he was joyous, and he was having fun, and it was enjoyable to watch on television. Now he's out there again in his old outfit. He looks depressed. He looks like he hates his job. Probably did. And there was no explanation for it. There was no storyline. There was no even attempt to make sense of any of this. They just did something for the hell of it.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to this whole show. All they have one thing that worked, and they keep doing it over and over again. Do you realize it's been 2+ years of NWO now?
Oh, yeah.
And they keep going. So Sting does not want to team with Bret, but he's very happy to fight Holland the Giant. And they cut him off with a shot from the apron. They beat him up in a terribly boring manner. Just dragged and dragged. Bret gets knocked off the apron. Sting makes a comeback, punches Giant in the balls. Ref doesn't care. Now, you recall earlier tonight, Kane swung a chair, and it was not clear if he was aiming for Taker or Mankind. Like, at the same time on TV, Bret hits the ring with a baseball bat. He swings it. It's not clear who he's aiming at, but Sting ducks and Hall gets hit. So...
It wasn't clear, but, I mean, it was pretty clear that he was aiming for Sting. Or for... Yeah, Sting.
See?
And Sting ducked, and he hit Hall.
So, Sting pins Hall. Bret leaves with the tag belts. Then they say it's a DQ. Then Giant lays out Sting. Then Goldberg runs out and spears Giant as the show ends.
Yep.
Show was a disaster.
The show was very, very bad. It was still better than last week. Last week's show, I mean, I'm kind of glad I watched it because it's really set the bar very low for these Nitros. Like, without last week's show, I probably would have thought this was the worst show I've ever seen. But because of last week's show, now I simply think, nah, that's bad. I've seen worse. But yeah, this is terrible. And I think it's only going to get worse.
Nitro was, on the whole, much better.
Nitro was so much better that it was weird. Like,
You forgot Nitro could be good sometimes?
The last 2 weeks of Nitro have been so unearthly bad. That the fact that it could suddenly be better than Raw, like, I wasn't prepared for this.
No, out of nowhere.
There was a couple of times I was fixing to be really upset, and then the one time I wasn't, but the one time I was fixing to be really upset was the very first match, because for the last 3 weeks, Jim Duggan has been in the opening match of Nitro.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they got an opening match storyline going on right here as we...
Here we go on Monday Nitro 152, also August 10th, 1998. Before the first match, the Nitro girls were dancing. They were sure to point out there was no Kimberly. This was 2 days after Road Wild. Paige was not on this show, and since Paige was not in the building, he refused to let his wife be there when he could not protect her from the NWO. They go to the announcers, and Larry goes to salute the fans for chanting his name, and Larry has a jacket.
Yes, he does.
Boy, did he ever.
It appeared to be like 3 jackets all sewn together. It had like black leather and brown leather and fringe and some studs.
All I know is Bon Jovi is sitting in front of his closet, and he's going, where the hell did I put that jacket?
So what I wrote was, I don't know who told Larry this jacket was cool, but they lied to him. And then Tony Schiavone started to make fun of it.
Well, see, they were at Road Wild, and what I'm figuring is a biker guy just gave him the jacket because it was too girly.
Maybe. So Tony then explains they are not allowed to show or discuss what happened in the Jay Leno match from Road Wild.
Yeah, there's a lawsuit, he claimed, and we're not allowed to show you what happened. We're not even allowed to tell you what happened. What? I mean, the answer obviously was they're trying to sell you the replay because they're saying we can't tell you or show you. But you know what? I mean, think about this lawsuit. We can't show you or tell you what happened, but you can buy the whole thing again on Tuesday.
Exactly. You can profit from it. So we are told a WCW executive will later present footage of that match. And then, yes, as Craig has warned you all, Barbarian versus Jim Duggan.
You know, it wasn't. I mean, it was terrible.
It was awful. Do not defend this.
It was terrible. But you know, it was weird. This Hacksaw Jim Duggan, it was worth watching this match to learn just how slow a human being could be. Like, Hacksaw was so slow. This was the closest I have ever seen to the Avalanche and Big Wood when they did the infamous spot where they whipped each other corner to corner, but they were so blown up a minute in, they walked corner to corner. Here's the finish, okay? The finish is Duggan, there's a switch, and Duggan is thrown into the corner. He basically walks. He walks, he turns his back. Barbarian goes running. Duggan steps out of the way, rolls him up and pins him. That's the finish. Mm-hmm. It took them hours to do that one spot. Duggan was so slow. Good. Why was he on TV doing matches at this point? Because he was being paid? You know what? There was a lot of guys being paid.
Sure.
They didn't have to be on TV. Where's Public Enemy been?
I don't know.
Trust me, they're getting paid.
Hey, let's not jinx that.
Oh, I'd much rather have Public Enemy. Much.
I think he's pointing out they're not alive much longer.
Oh, there's that. Only have a couple of years. Did we mention the part where Duggan whipped Barbarian into the ropes and then apparently forgot about him and turned around to go after Jimmy Hart? So Barbarian runs away from him, hits the ropes, and then runs towards him and hits him. This match was so fucking bad. So, I also like when Duggan's in the corner doing the 10 punch thing and the crowd's counting 1, 2, 3. And Tony Schiavone, ever the observant pro with the eagle eye of his, punching him right in the trapezius there. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Gorilla.
Thanks for pointing out it's fake. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, you know, maybe he was just punching him in the trapezius.
Well, he was, but
I mean,
it was supposed to
hurts.
be.
I could punch you in the trapezius. It'd hurt.
Not you. So, Hugh Morris runs out to attack Duggan. Meng runs out to attack everyone. Security hits the ring, and it ends with Meng killing everyone with the Tongan death grip and just leaving bodies everywhere. The best part was when he's got Duggan in the death grip, and somebody else, just some random geek, comes up to get him, and without releasing the death grip, he hits a super kick on this guy and lays him out. That was awesome.
So this whole match was worthwhile, as bad as it was, because they did do this angle with Meng, where Meng killed everybody, because Meng was scheduled to get a championship match against Goldberg in the main event.
Right.
And so they took a guy and they had him run roughshod over everybody. Carnage was left in his wake, all to build up a match with the unstoppable Goldberg.
Yes.
Because it's not fucking hard.
There was a point to this. That is fair. So last week, Lex Luger got laid out on Nitro. Then he appeared on Thunder, said Scott Hall had been one of the goons responsible for the attack. He was joined in this promo on Thunder by his pals Conan and Sting, who was randomly back in black and red because nobody has any idea what's going on from one show to the next. So then Mean Gene brings Lex out here for a promo.
Lex explained to the people that he had ironclad information that the second man that attacked him was Bret Hart.
I'm so happy you wrote down more than I did.
That's what he said, ironclad information. And I was like, so did you see him? Because if not, what's your ironclad information? Why did you choose that weird term?
He knows a guy.
Yeah, he knows a guy.
Knows Bret, I guess. He says he's not leaving the building until he gets his hands on Bret tonight. Bret comes out. He says, Lex, you have not earned a title shot, and you were just jealous because Sting likes me more. That's not his exact words, but that was the message he put out there. Lex blows him off and says, give me a title shot later tonight, or I'll just knock your teeth out right now. And Bret says, okay, and he leaves.
That's quite a negotiation right there. Bret was funny. I mean, Bret's so beyond caring right now that, like, Luger challenges him, and Bret's response is, why doesn't Gene challenge me while he's at it? Like, you can't just challenge a guy. He said that Luger got his butt kicked by a vendor? What? What's he talking about?
I assume Bret's blaming the backstage attack on a vendor.
I see. A vendor attacked him.
Yeah. That's the best I could do.
Hey, the match paid off.
It did. They recapped Stevie Ray beating Chavo Guerrero Jr. at Road Wild. In picture form, this match looked terrible.
Yep.
And then Eddie Guerrero came out to save Chavo from a post-match beating. Disco Inferno comes out. Then Alex Wright comes out. Then Tokyo Magnum comes out. But Tokyo is sad. The announcers had no idea what was going on. Neither did I. So Alex cuts a promo. He says Tokyo Magnum is a stupid little Japanese who should commit hara-kiri.
Actually said hurry curry, were his exact words.
Well, he's German.
He told him to go kill himself.
Go commit ritual suicide. Yes. Disco says you will need to perform better if you want to worship us. You are on your own tonight. That's what he said.
That's what he said,
Don't yell at
Brian.
me.
You are not allowed to worship us unless you perform better.
Right.
I got to talk with Disco.
Hey,
if someone wants to worship you, I mean...
Can I break some news to you? Disco Inferno says a lot of stupid things.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that.
So just add it to the list. So it's Eddie Guerrero versus Tokyo Magnum. One of the best 90-second matches you'll ever see.
That's true.
It looked really, really cool for the very short time they had. Eddie won with a brainbuster and a frog splash.
Okay, so what was the point of any of this?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I mean, it was a good little 1-minute match, but I sat through all of that, and the payoff was Tokyo Magnum got beat by Eddie Guerrero.
I guess now it's established Tokyo may not worship the dancing dildos. I just said that.
Yeah.
So that's the actual storyline. Let's see. Canyon, Raven, and Saturn did a 3-way at Road Wild. Flock interfered a lot. There's plenty of weapons. Saturn pinned Raven with a Death Valley driver. So Saturn comes out. He challenges Canyon because allegedly Canyon...
This fucking storyline is...
It's so much better than Taker and Kane.
I'm not sure about that.
Apparently, allegedly, twice now, Canyon has abandoned Saturn in tag matches.
Well, no. He has not abandoned him. He just hasn't shown up.
Okay.
Because...
Semantics, but all right.
Well, no, I mean, this is very different. Like, if you and I are in a tag match and you walk out on me,
You would abandon him.
You're abandoning me. You're purposely trying to screw me. If we're both booked in a match at Tulalip and you don't even show up at the building, I mean, you may have been in a car wreck.
I see.
You could be in Vegas teaching Jay Leno how to wrestle.
I see.
Which is where Canyon was.
Yeah.
Which they turned into a storyline of him abandoning a guy. It's so stupid. Why not just not book him on the show?
I don't know.
Did they book him and then go, oh, fuck, he's in Los Angeles?
That sounds like a WCW thing to do.
We'll just have no show. Then we'll figure it out later.
Regardless, they did a match. It's Saturn versus Canyon. I had a thought here. I'm sure I'm not the first person to think this. The Perry Saturn of 1998 would have been so awesome in New Japan in 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the style is right. The size is right. Looks different from everybody else who would have stood out. He'd have been great.
Well, I know he's still around.
I'm guessing he can't wrestle like this anymore.
Not in that good a
probably
shape,
not.
though.
Yeah. Canyon, of course, did a bunch of moves.
Lots of them.
A face first, last ride powerbomb. Not the finish. Not even close to finish. Just a spot. They were doing a superplex. They couldn't get their feet right, and so Saturn just threw them backwards, totally out of control into the ring. Lodi runs out and takes the ref. Raven runs in and DDTs Saturn, and Canyon gets an arm on Saturn for the win. Canyon's totally confused, and then it is to the back.
It's exactly what I wrote, and that's exactly what it was. We sat through all of that rigmarole, and they just go to the back. For what? Mang wiping out geeks.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, this is the better show.
That is true. As I review this, I realize, this is so much better than the last 2 weeks, and it's still not very good.
And still better than Raw on this week, too.
Yeah.
We had the Nitro party clips from a high school Nitro watching party. The angry loner with no friends who was dressed up like Sting was doing himself no favors. Speaking of not doing anyone any favors.
Okay, I got to talk about Mongo. It's Mongo versus Sick Boy, okay?
Before you begin, let me point out God is dead. Okay, go ahead.
There was a point where we thought that Sick Boy was like the worst wrestler we'd ever see. Do you remember this?
Yes.
He's worlds better than Mongo.
Yes.
The thing about Mongo that's so damn weird is I know that Mongo knows it's fake. Okay?
Okay.
But there are things that he does in his matches that are absolutely not fake. And I can't figure out why. Like, they're going to do a reversal, a switch. I'm going to send you to the ropes. We do a do-si-do or whatever. We switch. I throw you into the other ropes. He fucking does a shoot reversal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Sick Boy goes to throw him, and he stops, and he yanks his arm as hard as humanly possible, and he flings him towards the ropes. Sick Boy's totally out of control running. 2 times he did this. Like, the guy runs for you.
Yeah.
It's a
The
work.
guy does his own running.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing here?
You never had to tell a green guy, hey, I can run myself?
No.
Okay. You never wrestled Fender Gibson?
Tim kept me away from those
Sorry,
guys.
just bring up Big Said. A lot of stories. So, okay, I thought what you were going to say about the amazing thing about Mongo. He's been doing this for what now? 3 years?
A long time.
Many years. And he started off horrible. He did begin to improve somewhat.
Right.
And then, like this summer of 98, his decline is so steep and so sudden.
Well, let's think about this for a second. He debuted. He was an announcer. Then he had a few matches. Then they put him with the Horsemen.
Right.
Where he was working with Arn Anderson and Chris Benoit. And Flair was there. Now the Horsemen have disbanded. He's on his own.
Working with Sick Boy.
What the fuck do you expect?
You see the GIF online of the Road Wild stuff?
I was going to bring this up. We did not review Road Wild. I'm not going to review Road Wild, but they did a match between Mongo and Crush at Road Wild, and there's a short GIF online that is so terrible. If you look in the background, Vincent is appalled. Virgil cannot believe the horrors he is witnessing in this wrestling match. So yes, Mongo, he gets worse every day. It's astonishing. So he tried a football tackle, but his head hit Sick Boy's knee or the turnbuckle or something, and he sold his head, and then he just hit a tombstone anyway. Sick Boy, by the way, like 80% of his offense is springboards, but his springboards suck.
Yeah.
There was so much to hate about this pro wrestling match,
Well, you got to imagine,
and I
like,
hated all of it.
maybe the springboard was the best stuff he could do.
No.
I mean, they never
unimaginable.
let him do anything else.
Oh, God, I didn't even thought of that one. My God. So you're telling me this match could have been worse? I need to reevaluate my life. Hogan, Bischoff, and Disciple came out for a promo. Hogan says he is done with clowns like Jay Leno and Dallas Page.
Let me explain what happened here, okay? Hulk Hogan put Goldberg on notice that the clock was ticking on his title reign, and he said he was next in line because he had disposed of everybody, including Jay Leno.
What he said. That's a fact.
Yeah. Well, he's in the main event.
I'm next in line for Goldberg because I've disposed of everyone, including Jay Leno. And he said it not in a funny way.
No.
Like he was deadly serious that he's taken out the threat that was Jay Leno
He's beaten-
at Road Wild.
He's beaten everybody in WCW and guys that aren't even in WCW. That's what he's saying.
I got 3 takeaways from this segment. 1, Hulk Hogan made fun of Goldberg for being bald.
That's true.
2, there was an attractive young lady in a crop top in the upper half of the screen. That was very distracting.
Saw her.
Yeah. And 3, Hogan's point of all this was, since WCW security is dead, I will volunteer NWO Hollywood to provide security for the Goldberg main event.
Let's not forget the 4th point, which was Bischoff rambled on forever and then promised, as if it was a positive, that they would be out again later on.
Yes. Let's see. The announcers flapped their gums for a while, and then Shivani just said the Wolfpack will also be out for that Goldberg main match. I have never been so happy to see a match canceled. Stevie Ray came out, and then Chavo Guerrero Jr. came out to wrestle him.
You fast forward through this, Brian.
The match never happened.
I
but
was considering it, but then very quickly Jericho came out with Pepe, and I tolerated it.
So Chavo comes out. He can't find Pepe. Why did he bother coming out then, if it's that important to him? He can't find his damn horse. Chris Jericho comes out and says, Chavo, I have Pepe. He lures Chavo to the back. We hear assorted screams and violence, and Jericho emerges with Pepe's head. He then cuts a promo saying, Chavo is busy. Says Stevie Ray is from the streets. I too am from the streets, the mean streets of Calgary.
Say what you will about Stevie, but his reaction to the mean streets of Calgary, Alberta, Canada was amazing.
So Stevie accepts the challenge, and we get the giant upgrade of Stevie Ray versus Chris Jericho. So this crowd, when they were hot on the show, they were white hot. They weren't hot start to finish. They didn't love everything. They did not love, for example, Mongo. They loved Stevie Ray as the unmoving, unselling pillar of stone who let the small Canadian man bounce off him. They're going crazy for him, and Stevie is having the time of his life. And then Stevie says, I'm going to pick up Jericho for a suplex and drop him gut first on the ropes. He dropped Jericho pretty much straight down on his own head. I shrieked and screamed. Match kept going.
It's amazing. You thought he was going to die, but we saw him in 2017.
We've seen him many times since this. I'm watching old footage. I know Chris Jericho didn't die in 1998.
Right.
But watching this, I thought, oh my God, he's dead. Maybe he was replaced. Chris Jericho 2.0. So the match keeps going. Jericho low blows the ref. Giant runs out and chokeslams Stevie. Jericho revives the ref, puts Stevie in the Boston Crab, and the ref calls for the bell. So Jericho has won the TV title just a couple of days after losing the Cruiserweight title.
That was funny. Jericho was so excited to get out of this promotion. But man, they gave this guy everything. He's been a champion like nonstop for a year now. Couple of things. Number one, Jericho, the referee you noted took a bump. They're in a corner. Jericho just mule kicked the ref right in the nuts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why was this not a DQ later on?
I don't know.
So then Big Show jogs down to the ring as noted. Headbutts Stevie from behind, gives him a choke slam. Mike Tenay says, and I quote, "What's the point?"
He's not wrong.
I don't have an answer.
I have no answer. I don't know why this happened. I don't know what's going on. I rarely do watching this show.
I don't remember Chris Jericho joining the NWO.
He didn't join the NWO, but he's the new TV champion right now, so there you go.
Eric Bischoff and Elizabeth came out for a promo. Eric Bischoff, it turns out, was the WCW executive with footage from the main event. It was, of course, all black and white still shots that showed Hogan and Bischoff on offense and then celebrating. And he claimed it had been a mighty victory. Then he warned us, do not watch The Tonight Show, because Jay Leno is a liar.
He said if you watch The Tonight Show and there's any footage, that footage is certainly doctored or it has been faked with imposters.
That actually sounds like an awesome skit.
I was like, I wish they would have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, when he said that, I was like, I'm definitely watching The Tonight Show tonight.
Well, that's kind of the point. He
Then I
thanked
would
the
have
people.
been very, very upset when there were not imposters recreating
the
this
people
match.
said he loved them and Liz loved them and asked how if she'd heard from Randy lately, and he cackled. The announcers were pissed. This is all they were going to see. Mm-hmm. Psychosis versus Liz Martin Jr. versus Rey Mysterio.
All right.
One of these men does not belong.
Okay, so we've talked about how much Lizmark Jr. sucks, and he absolutely does suck. This was, without question, if you can find me another one, I'd love to see it. This was the worst match featuring Rey Mysterio and Psychosis ever in history. Lizmark Jr. is terrible, and they do a spot in the middle of the match where Rey Mysterio, who is a babyface to end all babyfaces, he gets mad at Lizmark for trying to get a pin.
Yeah.
The announcers explained that he thought that the two of them were working together here in this three-way. The fans boo Rey Mysterio for complaining about someone trying to steal his pin in a three-way. These guys had no idea what they were doing. The only good thing about this match was the finish, which was Psychosis gave Rey a monkey flip. Rey flew through the air, landed on Psychosis with a Hurricane Rana, and pinned him. That was awesome.
It's incredible.
Do you know who was not involved in that spot? I guess Lizmark was the guy
got pinned.
Yeah.
So let's see. We have talked about how three-ways, and they had been done rarely before, but they've not been done frequently, and they started to get more frequent in the late 90s. Guys were still trying to figure out what the hell, how to do a three-way match. The bell rings. Lizmark charges Psychosis, tries a dropkick. Psychosis dodges. Lizmark misses a dropkick, and then spends like 2 minutes in the corner selling like he's dead. Mm-hmm. He missed a dropkick.
Dude, if I would have put
There's
this
more.
match together, he would have missed a dropkick, rolled outside, and never got back in.
That would have been better.
It would have been much better.
Because at least in the outside, you can pretend, okay, he's biding his time. No, he's just down in the corner in agony. So the other great moment here, which I can't believe you did not bring this up, they're trying some wacky three-way spot where Liz Mark's going to catch Psychosis and Ray's going to do something with a springboard from the apron. So Psychosis runs at Lizmark, jumps in the air. Lizmark catches him. Psychosis, apparently afraid Rey Mysterio will forget the spot, screams at the top of his lungs so loud they can hear him back in Tijuana, "Go, Rey, go!" Rey goes, and they do the spot. And eventually, Rey won.
I thought you were going to complain about Rey.
There's so much to hate here.
I thought you were going to complain about Rey getting dumped on the floor, selling his knee, limping around, and then jumping back in the ring and running and doing all the spots.
Well, he did.
Like you claimed that Dean Ambrose does all the time.
You're right, but also he did limp to the back at the end, and he may in fact have blown out his knee again.
It's Rey.
Because the guy won't take time off for his knee. He's determined to have a future where he has knee injuries for the rest of his life.
And I'm sure that split-legged moonsault that he does in this match didn't help his knee at all.
He does hit the ropes very hard when
Yeah.
he does that.
This match sucked.
Bret Hart versus Lex Luger.
This match was awesome.
It was the most basic thing you ever saw.
And that's why it was good.
Well, exactly. And
You know what this was? There was a good guy, and the fans cheered him.
right.
And there was a bad guy, and the fans booed him. And the bad guy cheated. And then in the end, the ref got bumped, and we were like, oh no, they're going to screw us out of a clean win by the good guy. But I don't want to spoil it. Go ahead, Vince.
I'll be happy to spoil it, actually.
Okay.
First off, Bret Hart. First off, just this match was great, okay?
Mm-hmm.
No matter how terrible Nitro has been, this match was so good. This was the best thing on Nitro since Goldberg beat Hogan. And if you take that out, it was the best thing on Nitro in I don't even know how long.
Maybe in 1998.
Bret Hart goes in there, and even though he's losing, he's going to put this guy over, and he idiot-proofs the match. The first part of the match, there's a lot of standing and flexing by Lex, a lot of posing and holds. Bret works him over. Just the easiest stuff in the world. The lightest slam on the floor you ever saw. So light that Bret almost fell over trying to put this guy down gently. Luger makes his big comeback, bionic forearm. Bret kicks out. At which point, Tony, who's totally into this match, Luger hits the bionic forearm, makes the cover. Bret kicks out. Tony goes, "It was a darn good try." Luger puts on a sleeper. We get another fucking referee bump. Bret Hart reaches into his tights or whatever,
A dastardly heel.
and he grabs the old gimmick, the brass knucks. And he puts on the brass knucks, but Luger grabs him, and Luger brings him up in the rack. Now, the referee is still groggy. And I thought, okay, Bret's in the rack, but he's got the knucks. He's going to knock out Luger. He's going to fall on top. He's going to get the pin. Referee wakes up, and all of a sudden, Bret submits, and Luger wins the title.
A happy ending.
When Luger won this title, the fucking place went out of their minds for this babyface beating Lex Luger, or beating Bret Hart. It's Lex Luger. Sting comes out, he's got his red face paint. It's like last week never even happened. Here's the point of all of this. 1 year ago, almost to the day, at the height of Hulk Hogan's heel run, Lex Luger and Hulk Hogan had a match on television. Lex Luger beat Hulk Hogan, and it was the same thing, probably times about 5. The place went crazy. They were so happy. Luger came off like the biggest star. It was like this huge moment for WCW. And then at Road Wild, 5 days later, he lost the title. And then they didn't do anything with Lex. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Lex vanished. He won this title. They were so happy. He lost it 5 days later, and he disappeared. Well, here we are 1 year later in a random match on a random Nitro that had been totally, absolutely shitty. Luger won, and he got the same reaction again. Do you know what that tells me? That tells me that last year, if he had not lost that title 5 days later, if they had gone with Lex Luger and tried to build around Lex Luger, who even knows what would have happened? this company could have been on fire right now because the fans clearly loved Luger. They were clearly behind Luger. He was clearly a top babyface. They fucked it up.
It really helped when
Disgusted.
the ref got bumped, and you're like, oh no. And then Bret goes for the gimmick, and you're like, oh no, we're gonna get a screw job finish. And then it wasn't.
Even after the bell, because Bret never had the gimmick not on his hand.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought even after Lex is celebrating, the music's playing,
Yeah.
I thought the ref would stop and point at Bret's hand and wave it off and say, no, it's a DQ, so Bret retains. And then Wolfpack's out there, and like they went to commercial. That's when I realized, oh my God, it's real. Lex won this title just now.
They swerved us.
They did. They swerved us by not swerving us.
They swerved us by not being shitty.
Yes. Caught me very off guard by that.
That's what happened.
The other thing, and I'm kind of repeating Craig, but Bret did such an awesome job of making it clear Lex is bigger and stronger, but I am more devious. It was so it's so simple but so obvious, and I almost forgot how great Bret was.
Oh yeah.
Bret was great.
Well, after Owen Hart dies, there's a Bret Hart Chris Benoit match on Nitro. It's like a great match.
Yep.
This may have been Bret's other great match in WCW. I mean, he had the one.
Many.
He had the one
No.
with Flair.
Yes.
So that's 3 that I can think of.
I think that's it.
But they're certainly few and far
He
between.
did another match with Benoit, the tournament final, which is not as good as the first one.
No.
But yeah, they did. Breaking news: WCW did not get a good return on their investment.
They dropped
And
the ball on
not,
Bret Hart.
Yes, it's not his fault. It's theirs. We had pics of Hoovey beating Jericho for the Cruiserweight title at Road Wild. Dean Malenko was the ref, and I guess there was some finish where Hoovey jumped off him and hit a move on Jericho and won.
So in theory, shouldn't Dean Malenko now want Hoovey?
You would
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
Instead, he's not on the show. So we had Kidman versus Hoovey.
Let it be known that on this day, August 10, 1997, Hoovey and Kidman could not follow Lex Luger.
It's true.
That is a fact. That was good.
It was all right,
was a
but it
good-
was not nearly as good as the last match.
That is true.
Finish.
That is true. Had a very good 3-minute match. Bobby was very impressed. Hoovey won with a 450.
Yeah, but he killed Kidman when he rotated for the 450. He hit Kidman knee first.
Well, that's no good. So we finally had still shots of the Road Wild main event. Even in static photographs, Jay Leno looked unbelievably awful. And he got a hot tag. I can't imagine how terrible that was.
Jeez.
And then Kevin Eubanks, the band leader hit the ring, hit a diamond cutter. He had bigger arms than Paige. But why is this guy not the bigger star? So they show Paige and Leno and Eubanks all celebrating, and that's that. Raven and the Flock come out for a promo. I believe they're editing in Raven's WWE theme here. I think his WCW theme was a Nirvana knockoff.
Okay.
I think, again, they're just choosing not to tempt legal fate. So Raven says the Flock had let him down at Road Wild. He begins to attack all of them. Horus tries to defend himself, and they have a match. It's Raven versus Horus. Horus did a tope.
I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that one. And it wasn't bad either.
It was a great tope. He used a stop sign a lot.
Can I talk about this stupid stop sign?
Yes. Yeah.
So you could use a big metal stop sign and like hit a guy with it. What they did for the most part was they put it on the mat
Right.
and then they did moves on it.
Right.
Because a stop sign on the mat is more devastating than just the mat.
Yeah, because it's flat and flimsy.
This is so stupid.
But it makes a loud noise when you land on it.
Kind of.
Yes.
I mean, the ring makes
I'm-
a loud damn noise when you land on
I'm
it.
doing my best.
It was stupid.
So Canyon comes down the aisle. This distracts the Flock. Saturn comes through the crowd. He hits Raven with a DVD. He puts Horus on top, and so Horus wins. So after having a match an hour ago, I guess Canyon and Saturn are in cahoots now.
I do not know who's in cahoots. I never want to hear that word again. This storyline sucks.
Conan versus Kurt Hennig.
Not as good as last week.
I got to say this was funny. So last week, I guess Hennig choked out Conan with a chain.
Yes.
So, you know that Conan looks like the Hamburglar.
I've seen that.
Okay, so they're having this okay match. Conan then gets a chain, and now it's his opportunity to choke out Kurt Hennig, which is a DQ. watching this crazy fucker choke out Kurt Hennig with his chain. Like, he looked like he was committing a legitimate act of murder. His eyes are wide. They're bloodshot. He's raging. He looks like the Hamburglar. I'm going to have nightmares about this choking. That's what I got out of this.
So Conan choked him with a chain. It was a disqualification. It was lame.
I like how Conan has now, you know, how he's got his saggy britches and he's got his underwear above the britches. Now he's taken to tucking his shirt into his underwear.
Yeah. That's true. Scott Hall and Giant versus Sting and Kevin Nash. Sting looked weird, and I couldn't figure out why, and then I realized he was not wearing gloves.
For the tag team titles, baby.
Yes.
How did you notice that?
I don't know. I did not notice that.
I noticed Sting was not wearing gloves.
Okay.
What I noticed was the crowd was so dead for this match.
Uh-huh.
Now, we've seen some matches where they're like quiet, but this was like an eerie silence, like when you watch NXT at Full Sail and there's 200 people in the building and it's quiet. It seemed like there was 200 people at Nitro. It was so quiet.
They were probably
For the main event.
They were probably all gathering up their garbage so they could start pelting the ring because the NWO was involved.
Actually, this was not the main event anyway.
Right.
I apologize.
So they had the most basic tag match you ever saw. Nash ran wild. He got cut off. He hot tagged Sting. Sting made his comeback. They did a finish.
Can I add before you get into the finish that Kevin Nash is 6'11", like legit, he's 6'10",
Sure.
6'11". It's an 18-foot ring.
Yes.
Like, he's the babyface in peril. And at one point, he's laying on his back in the middle of the ring.
Yep.
Like, how could he not make the tag?
He should be able to tag all four corners at the same time.
He literally could have just did like a big, like a snow angel, and he would have touched every single ring post. We had to pretend like he couldn't make a tag.
So Sting puts Hall in the Scorpion. Giant grabs the ref and says, call for the DQ. Now, you shouldn't have to say that. You've just put your hands on the referee. That should be a disqualification anyway. The ref calls for the DQ. Giant chokeslams him anyway, and that's the end.
I wrote fucking horrific. Was I wrong?
About the finish?
Was it better? I mean, the finish for sure
The
was.
finish was fucking horrific. I thought the match was okay. Wasn't great, but...
Now, at this point, I'm looking at the timer, and there's like 17 minutes of the program left, and there's one match.
17 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
No. Because something was wrong with your timer, because I was also looking at the timer, because I forgot about Goldberg versus Meng. There was like 17 minutes left when the tag match started.
Maybe that's it.
And so the whole tag match and all the rigmarole goes, and the finish kind of ends, and I'm like, we still got like 7 minutes left.
Okay.
Like, why did it end now? So they start going to commercial, and they come back, and then I realized it was the Goldberg match.
Right.
So there's 7 minutes left.
That's not a Goldberg match. Goldberg goes 2 minutes.
No, this is the point. There's 7 minutes left, and there's Michael Buffer, who is a long-winded chap.
Yes, he is.
He's very wordy.
I'm sitting here watching for minutes.
I now fast
on
forward
end.
Buffer.
Dude, Buffer's out there, and he's going on, and Meng's making his way to. He's meandering
First
down the
NWO
ring.
Black and White comes
Yeah.
out.
Then
the Wolfpack. Then Meng.
So finally, Goldberg's out there, and Meng's in the ring, and I'm like, I think there's 25 seconds left of this show.
Something like that.
It's not very long.
Not much more.
No, and they went wham, bam, show's over.
They got enough to do. Meng gets thrown out by the Black and White. They leave him alone. Goldberg gets thrown out there. They attack him. A big brawl breaks out. Meng gets the death grip on Goldberg, has him down, but then lets go before the ref can count 3. Why did they do that?
I don't know, but that was a big mistake by Meng. Let me tell you that.
It's a big mistake by everyone. Goldberg pops up. He spears Meng and jackhammers him and wins. So then the final thing is in the brawl, Hogan hits Goldberg in the back with a chair. Nash hits Hogan, grabs the chair. Goldberg sees Nash and spears him. And the whole thing, as you noted, felt very rushed and very badly timed.
It was horribly timed. And worse, Goldberg versus Meng, I was so excited for this match. It's Goldberg versus Haku.
Right.
How could this be bad?
Couldn't.
I think the ref stood there right as they were about to start, and he just goes, you got 90 seconds. And it was such a letdown. Like, it was sloppy. I don't know if they called it in the ring because they got their time cut. I mean, most Goldberg matches aren't long, but there's all this hesitation. There are all these weird spots, and then it's just over. And I was like, man, I saw Goldberg have a great match with Glacier. Like, how could you not have a good match with Haku?
It could have been so much more.
It sucked. I was so sad. This show fell off a cliff in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, you know what? This is still the best show on either channel in at least a month.
And it was. But my God, it's still the last half hour of the show was terrible. Once Bret and Luger was over.
All right, Nitro, number 153, also August 17th, 1998. Hogan and his crew come out for a promo. As noted, constant references up and down this 3-hour show. Do not turn the channel. The main event goes 10 seconds. Hogan says he is done playing games with geeks and the media, and he calls out Goldberg. Then immediately says, tonight, Giant will beat Goldberg's ass and give the belt back to me. What a great heel. Calls out the babyface when he's too scared to fight himself. Giant, by the way, looked 600 pounds here.
This was also like one of those dusty promos from 87. Hogan alerting us he's the best, he's the top guy, gonna take the title back. Only thing he was missing was that cap.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mean Gene and J.J. Dillon plugged War Games.
Oh my God. The worst War Games ever. Ever. I'm pretty sure, I'd have to go back. I think I gave it -5 stars. I can't remember. I just remember it was just atrocious.
So, from the get-go, it's not 2 teams of 4, 2 teams of 5. It's 3 teams of 3.
Yes, we have got to have a NWO black and white team with Hulk Hogan as captain, a WCW team with DDP as captain, and a Wolfpack team with Kevin Nash as the captain.
Yeah. Still 2 rings, still a cage, still a roof. It's going to start with 3 men and still add a guy every 2 minutes. They said that Dylan actually said there'll be a coin flip every 2 minutes. I hope he did not misspeak and that was their actual plan. Plus, how do you flip a coin with 3 teams? Then, just to cap everything off, he says, whoever wins this match will get a title shot against Goldberg at Halloween Havoc.
Can't wait.
Well, at this point, it's not War Games at all. Because War Games is all about teams. This is now just a Royal Rumble in a cage or Elimination Chamber without eliminations. It's just the first pin wins.
Well, see, the idea is all these factions just want somebody to hold the championship, so they're the top faction. That's the idea. He also said that Hogan claimed there was nobody that he'd never beaten.
Yeah, sure to throw this out there at random.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he said he'd have to think about that for a while. This was brought up again later, as we'll get to.
Nitro Party clips. The dude who was pretending to be the Giant he did not have man boobs, he had man titties.
Terrible. Is it a positive or a negative? Now that I think about it.
It's a fact. So, moving on to terrible. Steve Mcmichael versus Sick Boy. Did they not do this match last week?
This match is the worst match in the world. It gets worse every time. Mongo is worse every time I see him in the ring. I don't even know how it's possible. Sick Boy missed his dropkick. Mongo just leaped in the air and went flying. Sick Boy, I am not making this up. Sick Boy fucked up a vertical suplex. No one can fuck that up. An untrained person could do a vertical suplex into a pool. They fucked it up.
The funny thing was, again, they were pushing don't turn the channel for the 10-second main event, and I was begging this match to end in 10 seconds, but it just kept going. Literally one non-stop gifable moment from the start to the end. Mongo won with a tombstone. Please never wrestle again. Mean Gene brought out DDP, asked, who are your 2 partners in War Games going to be? And Paige says,
I was looking through my Rolodex.
That's his first comment.
Yeah.
Which is actually not the most ludicrous thing he said. He said, this is too important a question to handle via a phone call. So I got on an airplane and flew out west.
Because he wanted to meet this man face to face.
That's the most ridiculous thing anyone's ever said.
Well, sometimes I can believe that. Like, if you're trying to do a very important negotiation, you don't text or call the guy. You're like, I'm going to fly out there and I'm going to meet you face to face and talk about it.
You know what? In hindsight, given who it turns out he was talking about, This actually does make more sense.
Yeah.
So Paige says this guy is, well, Hogan is 0-1 against this guy, and he'll find out who it is in September. Then he starts talking about Bret Hart.
By the way, they couldn't have started this last week or a couple of weeks ago where they start talking about a man that Hulk Hogan has never beaten.
Yeah.
It started on this show.
It did.
Dude.
So Bret comes out to defend himself.
With the U.S. title. Did you even notice?
I did. Was he not supposed to have it?
He's the champion again.
Oh.
He beat Luger
Oh, that's right.
on Thunder.
Forgot.
Another incredible Lex Luger title run. There was not one word on this show. There was not one appearance by Lex Luger. Listen, I know that Lex Luger wasn't really the most popular guy at the time. I know that he's probably never going to be in the Hall of Fame or anything like that. This guy was fucked 6 ways from Sunday by this company. They fucked up his world title reign a year ago. They fucked up his U.S. title reign here. The guy was so much over than he had any right to be, and they fucked it up every time. It's mind-blowing.
I had completely forgotten all this until you mentioned it right now. Yeah, there was no talk about Bret Hart winning the U.S. title on Thunder. 87 pictures of like Dean Malenko and Kurt Hennig arguing, but nothing about any title change. So Bret says, lists a bunch of guys who are on the shelf because of him: Benoit, Booker T, Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, and he accepts Paige's challenge for a match tonight. Mean Gene brings out Raven for an interview.
Oh, this was as bad as anything on Raw.
Horus interrupts.
By the way, this fake Raven music, it's bizarre. They can't use the fake even flow,
No.
so they got to use some other stupid music.
I'm pretty sure it's his WWE music, or at least one of his versions. But yeah, things like, I mean, I've gotten used to Jericho's theme on Nitro now, but it's an anachronism. It doesn't fit there. So Horus interrupts immediately. Says Raven makes him sick to his stomach. He's watched Raven's back for months, and Raven hasn't done anything for anyone in the flock. Challenges Raven to a match. Raven accepts, but it will be a tag match, and he will pick the partners. So he books Horus and Canyon versus Raven and Saturn. Saturn and Canyon come storming out. Saturn says, "No, Raven, I will never team with you." Raven says, "Are you scared?" And Saturn says, "I'll team with you, but if you try to tag me, I'll punch you out."
Now stop right there. Raven has booked a match. It is Raven and Saturn versus Canyon and Horus. Saturn doesn't want to do it, but then after he is belittled, after he's called a chicken, he says, "Fine, I'll do it, but if you try to tag me, I'll punch you." So out comes J.J. Dillon, and he says, "Sounds to me like we've got a verbal agreement for a match." He says, "Raven, you booked the match. Saturn, you've agreed. Canyon, you've agreed. You're nodding your head. And Horus, you've agreed. The match is official." But then he says, "However, if any of you punch your partner or cause your partner to lose, you'll be suspended for 90 days. Oh, how he fucked Saturn.
Pretty much.
He signed the match based on another verbal agreement and then changed the stipulations after the match had been signed. What a dick.
And why?
For no good
Why
reason.
do any of these men want this match?
Why would he even care?
I don't know. I don't understand.
And he added pinfall or submission only.
High Voltage versus the Dancing Dildos.
I have no memory of this match.
Just this match, this screams WCW.
Oh, I remember now.
High Voltage, Alex Wright, and Disco Inferno. Well, it went 3 minutes. Meng ran out and killed everyone. He tongue and death gripped them all to death.
This actually was one of the better things on the show.
Well, it was, but...
He's killing everybody, including security guys.
And the ref.
And he's running wild. The place is going nuts because, you know, a dude killing everybody's cool. And then they have one other guy come in with mace. And he allegedly sprays this monster in the eyes with mace. And Meng no-sells it and puts him in the tongue and death grip. They go nuts. Because there are certain things that will always work. Even in the middle of the worst show of all time, there's certain things that will always work. And a guy that kills everybody and is impervious to mace That'll always work.
The last guy, the macer, if you will. First of all, he clearly had not practiced with the mace backstage. I think he almost sprayed himself in the face with the mace, which would have been the greatest.
Perhaps it was Mason Ryan. Is that possible?
I don't know. I did know he had the exact same haircut as the Wizard of Oz. So, anyway.
It's just so bad. But I did love
Now, here's
Meng
my question
killing
about this
everybody.
stuff. Yes, it was cool. Yes, the crowd loved it.
But why?
What? Meng just lost to Goldberg last week.
I know. I asked the
Where's
same
this leading
question.
to?
I asked the same question. Like, I loved it, but I couldn't get it.
Right.
Like, what and why and who and what?
And then, this was, I think, the dumbest thing on either show.
This was the worst thing on either show. That's true.
Eddie Guerrero comes out in street clothes with his bag. He says, "This is an unscheduled interview. If you cut me off, I'll just go to another network and say my piece."
Oh, you had no contract?
All I know, the one positive about this, Eddie's mullet was glorious here.
It's all I could look at.
Like, just look at the hair going down his shoulders. It just never seemed to never end. So, he says, "I am tired of being mistreated and unappreciated by Eric Bischoff." And he's rambling. He's losing his focus. He's all over the place.
At one point, he just couldn't remember anything. And he stood there staring at the camera for like 5 full seconds. It was like the end of a WWE interview. He just stares off into space.
Yeah.
And then he just started rambling again.
He says, "Bischoff's holding down young talent. He's holding me down. He's got something personal against me." Crowd, of course, thinks Eddie's a heel, so starts chanting, "Eddie sucks." They have no idea what's going on. Eddie says, "Bischoff is stopping me from climbing the ladder, so it's Eric's fault, I guess, that Eddie has been losing matches and not winning titles."
Then he's talking about how the only reason I didn't come out here earlier is because of my nephew Chavo, who I love.
I love Chavo, he says.
I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
So the
you guys
past
have been
3
feuding.
months is bullshit, is what you're telling me. I wasted my time on your shit.
Yep.
And he says, "I've got a wife and 2 kids to support, but I don't care. Eric, you can take this job and shove it." And he left.
Well, first, he had to pour the coffee all over himself because
see.
there'd been an incident backstage where Eric did one of his freakouts and threw coffee at Eddie.
Aha.
Of course, nobody knows this,
I didn't know this.
but it's a story that
Yeah.
they got to bring into this shoot interview here. And then he tells him to take his job and shove it up his you know what.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Like,
I'm so astonished by this period of wrestling, this glory period of wrestling.
How romanticized it is.
It's atrocious. It's so much worse than Raw. It's so much worse than SmackDown today that people complain about all the time. This is like the glory era that children grew up with, and they wanted to become wrestlers. Why?
I don't know.
What was going on in your life that you watched this and wanted to do it? Fuck.
All I know is this was like -4 stars on paper, and then Eddie made it -5 stars with a terrible promo.
Unbelievably horrific, I wrote. That's probably not being mean enough.
So you got Canyon and Horus versus Raven and Saturn.
This was almost as bad as that interview. What a mess.
It was a complete and total mess. I wrote down way too much about it, frankly. What I remember about
That's
this...
because way too much happened.
Well, that's part of it. The very first spot they did was Saturn shoved Raven, and he got schoolboyed, and Saturn had to break up the pin to avoid a 90-day suspension. A lot of weapons being used, a lot of suplexes, which were cool because Saturn is cool. The highlight of this was when Canyon and Horus made a comeback and whipped Saturn and Raven into each other, and these dudes ran at each other as hard as they could and went smack in the middle of the ring. And that was great. Canyon, of course, had to hit a bunch of moves the guys would kick out of, because God bless Canyon, he could do cool moves. He had no idea how to get them over. Eventually, Saturn pinned Horus with a DVD. There's more.
Horus went to hit somebody, accidentally hit Canyon. Saturn DVD'd him for the pin.
Yeah.
Now, the crowd did pop for the finish. I got to give him that. But it was a mess.
Well, the post-match was even worse.
The post-match, oh my God.
Raven and the Flock attack Saturn. Kidman tries to stop them. Raven DDTs him. Horus... I'm angry now. This whole thing, this bullshit began because Horus interrupted a Raven promo and said, "I want to beat up Raven." Now Horus interrupts Raven and says, "I want to beat up Saturn." So he beats up Saturn and then turns around and Raven beats up him. I was baffled. I was bewildered.
Tony
confused,
in the booth had absolutely
dumbstruck.
no idea what was going on.
If you gave me like a huge whiteboard and photos of all these guys and markers trying to connect who the alliances and feuds in history, I would be clueless. I don't understand any of this. It sucks. The Wolfpack out came out. They were excited for War Games. The Wolfpack left. That whole thing. Scott Norton versus Scott Putski. Realize here there's Scotts all over the place in WCW. Norton, Putski, Hall, Steiner, Riggs, Levy.
Powerbomb finish, waste of time.
Yes.
But it was one of the better things on the show.
Sure.
Now I think about it.
Hogan is back.
I could not even believe when they came out again.
I can.
See, the reason is because I had forgotten they were in the ring for Warrior's promo. I thought Warrior had just debuted and did the promo in an empty ring. Let me tell you something about this promo you may not remember. So, first off, Hogan is there and wants to know who DDP's mystery man is. He says, "Who out there can I not beat?" Everyone thinks he's talking about Goldberg. And so they start chanting Goldberg's name, because he also has not beaten Goldberg. Lights flicker, they go in and out, and it is the debut of The Warrior in WCW. He cannot be the Ultimate Warrior. He does every trick in the book to say the words Ultimate and Warrior as often as possible, but not actually ever saying them back to back.
Yes.
Fans go nuts.
His appearance was awesome.
Place goes crazy. Hogan sells it great. Mouth agape. "I thought you were dead," he says. Fans are chanting for the Warrior. And the Warrior then proceeds to cut his promo. Now, here's what's really interesting about this. So everybody on the board who saw this before us, let's talk about how terrible this promo was. At the time, this was like a great promo. Like, people were raving about this promo when it happened. Part of it is, Warrior never cut a good promo in his life, and this was the closest thing to it.
That's true.
And so people were like, that was by far the best promo the Warrior's ever cut in his life. Now, promos are much different nowadays. I don't know what it is, but, I mean, I watched it again, and it wasn't as good as I remembered the first time, but the guy was lucid.
Yeah.
He had the crowd in the palm of his hands.
Yes.
Everything he said, I mean, he had good timing on everything that he said.
Yes. Good delivery.
Good delivery.
Unbelievable presence.
Sure.
Star power, aura, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, this was not bad. Now, let me tell you something, because I remember this vividly. Like, this was the peak, because it's all downhill from this moment. So if you're watching this and you don't remember when it originally happened and you thought this was terrible, just you wait. This is the pinnacle. This was Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes all rolled into one compared to what is to come.
So, did you mention that Warrior was wearing blue jeans tucked into his custom-made red and white cowboy boots?
Yeah.
That's an important detail. So Warrior's promo starts, and he's really, really good, and every person in the building is, like you say, in the palm of his hand. He's in control of the whole room, and he's awesome. And then it just goes forever. I will say that. This promo was like 15 minutes long.
It did go way too long. But listen, I watch these 15-minute, 20-minute Raw opening promos, and it's like, they don't need to go this long.
This was a 20-minute promo that was good for 10.
Yeah.
The Raw promos are 20-minute promos that are good for no.
Sure, but I mean, I've seen it before. This was not high on the list of the worst 20-minute promos I ever
God,
saw.
no. Finally, he says, "I'll be back next week." The ring fills with smoke. The lights go off. There's pyro, and then he has vanished.
Tony said, and I quote, "The Warrior has literally vaporized right before our eyes." And I mean, he was kind of right, because he did turn into water vapor, is what it appeared to me.
Yeah. Kurt Hennig versus Dean Malenko.
We should mention the Warrior signal.
Yes, the Warrior signal was shown in the arena.
Yeah, he stole the Batman catchphrase, same Warrior time, same Warrior channel.
Yes.
Except he had one other. Same Warrior time, same Warrior... What was the second one? There was one before
Place?
channel. Because everybody
Time, place, channel?
Yeah, something like that. And then he showed his...
He vanishes. So they go to commercial. They come back. The Nitro Girls dance a bit. They go to commercial again. They come back. Kurt Hennig and Dean Malenko come out. They stall for a minute, and then go to commercial again. And at this point, I realized Warriors promo went way long and fucked up their entire format. It had to have happened. So they're doing this match.
Oh, God, I'm remembering the Warrior stuff now. Fuck.
Rude gets on the apron.
Trust me, we're going to apologize to Raw next week. Just trust me.
Rude gets on the apron. Dean goes after him. Rude hits a knee from the apron, wipes it on the floor, and Hennig hits a fisherman suplex for the win.
It's not as good as you'd think.
It really wasn't.
But Rude was doing and taking a lot. He was desperate to get back in the ring at this point.
Yep. Buff Bagwell and Scott Steiner came out for a promo. Literally half of Steiner's body was wrapped in casts and bandages. And they had some geek in a smock out there saying he was a doctor. Cecil Schwartz.
Guy just pretending to be a burnout.
So Scott explains...
Probably wrote this show.
Rick Steiner had hit him in the elbow bone, and all the bones were connected, so his knee hurt. Doctors said, right on. And they showed Scotty couldn't even hold his arm up. It was all very sad. And they asked, will Scotty be ready to wrestle on the September 13th? And the doctor said, right on again. I don't know what that means. Rick came out and promised to beat up Scotty at Fall Brawl. This was dumb.
Well, the whole thing was Scott was trying to avoid the match. That was the whole point of all of this. And then Rick comes out and he says, at Fall Brawl, I'm going to show who the better Steiner is. And then Scott gets fired up and accepts the match. I was like, that was anticlimactic. What a waste of my time.
Most of the show was a waste of time. Chavo Guerrero versus Chris Jericho versus Stevie Ray.
Boring.
It was. Chavo was out here still pretending to be crazy after Eddie came out an hour ago and told us it was all fake. Jericho keeps tricking Chavo into attacking Stevie, and Chavo is so dumb, he keeps falling for it, and he's the babyface in the match. So the ref gets bumped. Stevie pulls out a gimmick.
The slapjack.
A slapjack. He wallops Jericho with it. Out comes Giant. Okay, here's the spot. Giant is going to grab Stevie and chokeslam him.
Oh, there's a lesson to be learned from this.
You got that?
Yeah.
I mean, it was very complicated and elaborate. Perhaps some of you weren't paying attention. I'll do it again. Giant's going to grab Stevie and chokeslam him. I don't think I've ever seen any wrestler deadweight a guy like Stevie did for the Giant here. He gave him zero assistance. But it doesn't matter because it's a fucking Giant. And he had one hand on Stevie's neck and one hand, not even like on the small of his back, it was like up between his shoulders blades. And it's like pressing his hands together, he lifted this 300-pound man high into the air and slammed him down to the earth. Like Stevie Ray, and just in terms of height and weight, he's like my size, or pretty close to it.
Well, Stevie Ray didn't want to go up.
That's clear.
Because he didn't want to take the bump. But the problem was, like, if he would have jumped, it's very likely the Giant would have set him down pretty easily. Mm-hmm. Like, have you ever seen, like, Undertaker choke slam somebody? I mean, he lets him down so easy. Granted, this was not The Undertaker. But still, Stevie, because he didn't want to take the bump, made Giant lift him up. Uh-huh. And then Giant was like, well, you're only halfway up. And so I'm going to overcompensate by driving you as hard as I can down to the mat.
With my weight on top of you.
It would have been a lot easier to just jump.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This was astonishing. So here's the finish. All three guys are down. The ref is doing a triple knockout count. Chavo was about to get to his feet, but Jericho grabs the ref. Chavo then trips and falls out of the ring and is knocked out. And then Jericho gets to his feet. The ref counts out Stevie. Jericho wins.
The storyline is that Jericho is the king of loopholes, but my God, this sucked.
Could they have found
and
a
that's
more
the
complicated...
worst gimmick, the king of loopholes.
Yes.
Like, talk about designing a gimmick to not get over.
And they showed this chokeslam again. I was in awe, maybe even more awestruck the second time. It's not like it was a suplex or a fireman's carry where you can get under the guy and use leverage. He had to carry this guy in front of him and get up to the sky. The Giant is terrifying. Breaking news, I know. Bret Hart versus DDP. Now, look, we've mentioned this several weeks in a row now. Bret Hart was not giving it his all at this point in his WCW run. He had given up. And sometimes, in his promos, it makes him better. There's the complete lack of giving a fuck. This had to have been the most boring Bret Hart match of all time.
Really? I didn't think it was that bad. Now, the finish is another story entirely.
Bret cut Page off, hit 75,000 moves in a row. At last, Page makes his comeback. The ref gets bumped.
How many ref bumps were on this show?
For the second match in a row, probably more earlier. Bret grabs a gimmick. Second match in a row, somebody's done that. But then...
I'll tell you what happened.
I know what happened. I'm just...
Bret gets a gimmick, and he waffles DDP, and DDP's knocked out. But the referee's also knocked out. So Bret... Instead of just pinning the guy, he wants the referee to believe.
Why did everything on this week have to be so complicated?
So
in all matches on all shows.
He pulls DDP's dead body on top of him, and he also puts the gimmick down DDP's tights. The ref wakes up, he goes to count. Bret, quote, kicks out. He goes to put the guy in the sharpshooter. DDP is tapping furiously. Nick Patrick doesn't call it. And finally, DDP gets the ropes. Page hits a diamond cutter out of nowhere. Bret gets his foot under the ropes. And then Bret stands up and says, "Hey, Nick, he hit me with something. Look in his trunks." DDP, not knowing, because he was unconscious, that Bret put something in his trunks, stands there while the referee fishes around in his genitals, pulls out a gimmick, and calls for the disqualification. Now, if this were like a Stampede wrestling show, or like any other show that wasn't absolute bullshit, it would have been a very creative screwjob finish. Instead, on this show, it was so overcomplicated. It was just too much. Like, I liked it, but I hated it. This was not the show to do it on. On a show like this, it was just another screwjob bullshit finish. On a show where Tony for 3 hours has been telling us not to watch Raw because of a 10-second main event.
Two things. First, in their defense, I don't think tap-outs were a thing yet.
No, they were.
Pro wrestling. Were they?
Yeah, for sure. Shamrock. Every single
right.
Shamrock finish was a tap-out. There were tap-outs. I don't know what was going on in this match.
Well, the other point I was going to say was my comment about Bret half-assing things. He goes to do the sharpshooter, and he realizes he has fucked it up. So he stops, does a headbutt to the balls, and then puts the sharpshooter on. Yeah, this is no good. And that finish. Oh, that fucking finish. Goldberg versus Giant. I don't know how big this arena was, but it took Goldberg 10 minutes to get from the locker room to the ring.
It's so amazing watching on Apple TV where they've got that time thing along the bottom. And, like, you can just see, like, there's no time left on the show. Goldberg's still walking from the backstage area. And then you realize his matches are always a minute.
Yeah. So, Giant manhandles him a bit. Goldberg grabs him, body slams him, places going apeshit for everything they do. Disciple tries to interfere. Thank God Goldberg was having none of that. And I said earlier that Giant may have been 600 pounds. I'm even more convinced of that now because in this 3-minute match, he got as blown up as any Brawl for All guy. Just exhausted. Goldberg hits a spear, and Disciple attacks for the DQ.
Can you imagine? After 3 hours of complaining about the Raw main event, that was their finish.
Yes. So they're working over Goldberg. Scott Hall runs out. Kevin Nash runs out.
Well, first Goldberg speared and jackhammered Disciple, so I guess
Yes.
that was supposed to send us home happy.
I suppose. So Hall runs out, then Nash runs out. Then Hall dodges a spear. Nash gets speared instead. Second time that's happened. And Nash and Goldberg go nose to nose, and the show ended. I wrote here much better than Raw. I don't know if that's true. It was the better show.
It was better than Raw, but it was still bad.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the one thing about Raw is it sucks, but you know it's going to get better at some point. This show sucks, and it's just depressing.
Because you know.
The build to Nash versus Goldberg is so fucking depressing. The reappearance of the Warrior and knowing where it goes, and the Fall Brawl match, and the second Warrior Hogan match, it's so depressing. It's only getting worse.
Uh-huh. And we know you're right. There is no hope because we know how the story ends.
There's no hope. Not an iota.
Oh God. Anyway.
I mean, the only bright cloud is eventually Russo shows up and tries to cut it back to 2 hours. So we only get 2 hours of horror instead of 3. That's the only bright spot coming. And the very end when for like 2 months it's good and then they go out of business.
That's right.
Well, there you go, everybody. Hey, The Death of WCW is available at audible.com. It's an audiobook. In fact, if you go to my Twitter at Brian Alvarez,
That's true.
Pinned at the top is a link where you can do an Audible free trial. Absolutely free. And one of your books can be the Death of WCW audiobook.
Actually, let's recap this. This is important. You lived through this at the time in the 90s.
Yep.
You wrote a book in the early 2000s.
Yep.
You did a revised copy of that book.
Yep.
You did an audio copy of that book.
Yep.
And now we're doing these shows. You've gone through the Nitro era 5 times.
I am such a glutton.
You poor bastard.
I am such a glutton. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I don't either. Actually, this explains a lot about what is wrong with you.
Clearly, the site's making money. Because
guess
there's
so.
no other reason I would ever do that.
Nitro number one.
Talking for 2 hours about the worst television show I've ever seen. And now we got another terrible one.
Nitro that's hardly any better.
Oh, it's better. It's way better.
Nitro number 154, also August 24th, 1998.
It's like the worst show I've ever seen that was better than another show.
Hollywood Hogan and his crew arrive.
Well, first off, we got to talk about Tony, who said we're often literally rolling.
Right.
So I imagine he was just rolling down the ramp as he was doing the open.
He may be like Mankind, surfing down there.
Yeah. Literally.
I gotta get to the booth.
Bischoff starts talking. He says, I am the one who ran Vader and Johnny B. Bad out of WCW.
Now, there's a cool story, bro.
That is true.
In the fuck at 1998 could possibly care about this boast? He says that he's in charge and he'll decide who stays or who goes. Eddie, as in Eddie Guerrero, who then was not on the show
At all.
Hogan runs down DDP, runs down the Ultimate Warrior, as he called him.
Oops.
He runs down Kevin Nash, he runs down Goldberg, and that's it. Mike Enos versus Wrath. Things were going fine for a while, and they just turned south and never recovered. Wrath took 2 of the worst turnbuckle bumps you'll ever see. He tried a flying shoulder tackle or something, but like in midair, both guys forgot what to do. So they just kind of crashed under the earth and looked at each other.
Yep.
And then Wrath won with a pump handle power slam.
It's a good move. Somebody should steal that.
I loved when he went for the pump handle slam and Mike
different.
Enos totally didn't give a shit and just gave him his arm in the most telegraphed manner possible. Should mention, by the way, as we'll see later, they're creating a new Goldberg-style guy.
Sure.
And you'll see why.
Then we had
10 minutes of nothing happening.
exactly. There was a recap of Nitro last week. Dancing Nitro Girls, Nitro Party clips, all sorts of bullshit that is not wrestling. Kaz Hayashi versus Dean Malenko.
Highlight of this was actually Larry. Says, my uncle's name was Kaz,
That's right.
but he wasn't Japanese. And he starts mumbling and bumbling around trying to explain himself, and the announcers calmly said, we understand, Larry. He wasn't Japanese.
Right.
Your uncle. Dean was in total machine mode.
Yep.
There's a spot where he gets sent outside. Kazuyashi does this huge, flying aerial dive, like a cartwheel over the top.
Yeah.
Throws the guy back in the ring, and then Dean kicks him and starts doing moves.
That happened.
Yeah.
There was no transition.
No.
There was no life to this match at all. It was just a series of moves properly executed before the finish.
There was a great delayed German suplex, and Kaz was the one giving it.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Kaz Hayashi
awesome.
was awesome. So he missed a leg lariat, this Mr. Hayashi did, and then Dean hit a leg lariat of his own, and then the double underhook powerbomb and the cloverleaf for the win. And he was just as emotional about it as I was. Wolfpack hype video, and they all came out for a promo. Nash runs down Hogan, runs down Bischoff, says, one day I will be running this company.
He says, I will run this company even if I have to be world champion to do it.
Right.
Wow.
It's like, fuck.
I didn't even think about that, but you were exactly right.
That's exactly what he said.
It is.
What do you mean? A promoter putting himself on
Well, that, but
on the belt? What?
not just that, but the whole concept of
Like, I don't want to be the champ.
I'd rather
but
not be
if
the
I have to be to run this company, I
heavyweight
guess
champion
I
of the
will be.
world.
I guess I'll just go get it.
What a chore. But since it's a means to my end, or an end to my means, whatever, I'll go do it. Talks about getting speared by Goldberg. Says if Goldberg wants to make things right, then he will team with me against Hogan and Giant tonight. Goldberg does his whole entrance. It was a little faster than usual, but it's the whole march through the back, accompanied by security. He walked through the pyro and all that. He walks out. He pokes a finger in Nash's chest. He barks and he leaves. And the crowd boos because they didn't hear him. And then Nash translates and he says, "He said you got it."
Oh, what a mess.
That was that. Conan versus Jim Neidhart.
Who puts matches like this together?
The devil.
And I will say, it was bad. It was not horrible.
I gave this match...
Sometimes funny things like this happen.
Okay.
Like you expect it to be so unearthly terrible.
That's the way I saw it.
And then it's like, okay.
No, you're wrong.
It exceeded my low expectations, which were a 0% chance of being any good whatsoever.
Thank you, Vinny. You understand what I'm saying.
I do. I expected much worse than what we got here. Anvil missed a splash. Conan won with an X Factor in the
I mean, Anvil's terrible. There's no two ways about it.
He's been in this business forever.
The thing you got to remember, Craig, is later Mongo
That's true.
is going to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
He was much worse than either of these men.
Tony Schiavone brings out Stevie Ray for a promo. He promises to get his title back from Chris Jericho when Booker T interrupted. Making his big return, he says, "Look, I had a grueling single schedule. I was beat up. I needed to take some time off to heal up."
He left the country, he said.
He left the country. He didn't say which country he went to.
No, he could have went anywhere. He could have went to Antarctica. That would have at least been a good story.
I don't think he went to Antarctica.
I want to see those skits.
It'd be better than most of this show.
Spinneroonies on the ice.
Can you imagine how many times you could go around?
So he says, "Meanwhile, while I was gone healing, you took my TV title, you pretended to be TV champion, and then you lost the belt." Stevie blames all of this on J.J. Dillon. He says he's trying to drive a wedge between us.
So basically, to cut to the chase, Stevie is all about the tag titles. The Booker wants a singles career. They're not getting along.
Well, more to the point, Stevie is all about titles for himself.
Well, yeah.
So he took the TV title, he wanted it for himself. Now that he's lost it, he wants the tag title, so he'll have one. He's appalled that Booker T would be so selfish as a challenge for the U.S. title.
Do you realize, by the way, that it was the TV title in the Best of 7, right?
The Best of 7 was for a title shot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, so they did that whole rigmarole, and this is what happened with the TV title in the end?
Yep.
Booker T left the country, and Stevie took his belt?
Yes, the non-champion lost it to the Chris Jericho, yeah.
Dude. If I ever expand Death of WCW again, I mean...
The
I won't be able to do a print edition.
Untold tales of the death of WCW.
It's going to be like in 3 parts.
Oh, Christ. Booker runs down Bret Hart because he has a U.S. title match tonight, and he wants Stevie to watch his back, but Stevie's pissed. Schiavone brings out Dallas Page for a promo. Dallas is looking for members of Team WCW.
Yeah, there's War Games coming up, and this guy's, I guess, volunteered.
He's begging for anyone to come volunteer to fight on behalf of World Championship Wrestling. That's the story. That's the story. And it turns out, by the way, there is no one on the roster worthwhile because 2 retired guys have to come out and help him.
That's right. There's no Goldberg.
Well,
Goldberg wasn't interested. He's WCW, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the winner gets a title shot, so you could argue Goldberg can't be in it. But
dude, the IWGP champion's in the G1, so anything could fucking happen.
Well, Nitro is not the G1.
Yeah, before you take a match, you might want to make sure that you have the proper opponents. And not only opponents, but partners.
You need
partners as well.
Yes.
You don't just go willy-nilly, sign yourself up for a match. And
my favorite part is that DDP is begging for partners, and Roddy Piper's music is queued up and ready to go.
That's right. Sure.
We haven't seen this goddamn guy in how long? When was the last time we saw him?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Where has he been? Oh, that reminds me, by the way. Let me go back a little ways. At the beginning of the show, they had that stupid promo with Eric Bischoff, and he had a pen.
That's right.
Because the old school name for a booker was the pencil, and he's describing how he can use his pen to keep anyone in or out of the business.
Right.
Wasn't the storyline that he had no power?
Yep.
Was that not the storyline? That he had no power to hire or fire anyone? That's why Roddy Piper was there. Now, apparently, Bischoff has power, and then they bring out Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper does his usual bullshit promo. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's talking about Sammy Sosa Bill and Hillary Clinton, the dress, and then he says, "I'm the only guy that you can't fire, Eric." What?
I don't
Now
know.
here's the thing.
I don't know.
He's the commissioner. He's the commissioner, and he shows up once every 2 months.
Yeah, because this show sucks.
When all was said and done, the upshot was Piper was going to be one of Page's partners in War Games. He thought Warrior should be the other guy. They would find out before the show was over, he said. Steve Mongo Mcmichael versus Scotty Riggs.
Scotty Riggs looking more and more like Saturn in the physique department.
I will say one thing positive. Steve McMichael's selling was the funniest thing in the night.
It was not.
Like, there is no NWO skit. There is no DX skit. There is no Rock promo. There is nothing in the whole 90s that was funnier than Steve McMichael selling. I've never seen anyone regress as badly and dramatically as Steve McMichael here.
Watching it here and thinking of how funny it was made me think it has to be intentional.
No.
He is trying to be a comedy wrestler now.
He's trying to be a good wrestler, which makes it funnier.
Did you guys ever have, when you were a kid, the inflatable punching bags?
That's funny because I was going to bring up Weebles.
Close to the same thing.
Yeah.
But you would, you blow out the balloon and it's got some weight at the bottom. You're a kid and you punch it back and forth and you get a little bigger. You're tired of punching. You start throwing it around. But, it's a balloon. Doesn't have any arms or legs. It just flies through the air. That's how Steve Mongo McMichael takes bumps.
I think a better analogy would be, for example, a whale breaching, if you've ever seen that.
Yes.
Yep. Or imagine you and your buddies are playing by the pool, and you're going to fake punch your buddy, and he's going to leap and fall into the pool.
No, that wasn't work because I guarantee you kids that show more motion.
Well, they would, but my point is, like, he gets hit, and he leaps high into the air and falls flat on his back.
He jumps straight up in the air.
Yeah.
He flies backwards, flat on his back. But the key is, if you just took a picture of him and ignore the fact he's in midair, it looks like he's standing still.
Yes,
his body is straight up and down.
Sides,
his arms are down by his sides. He just launches forward.
He looks like one of those performing dolphins at SeaWorld.
It is a breaching whale. I think that's the best one.
If
I do say so myself.
If anyone out there can get a video of Steve McMichael taking a bump in this match and put in like dolphin squeaks with it, sound effects, or a whale song, please do. I laughed my ass off at this match. Steve McMichael is terrible.
It was so fucking funny. He's so bad. And Riggs was trying so hard to just do the most easy, idiot-proof match, and it was impossible.
Riggs is a great wrestler, and he could not do anything.
You cannot Mongo-proof a match.
It looked like Mongo had never run the ropes before. Even his football tackles were terrible, and he was a great football player.
Because it was blown up.
This went way too long. Mongo won with the tombstone. By the way, this isn't even about them, but it's on commentary. Riggs is in the flock, along with guys like Horus and Sick Boy, as we shall discuss here. Schiavone is talking about the flock, and he's trying to describe them. And they're all followers of Raven, and they're all outcasts, whatever he's using. Then he's talking about the trademarks, and he just says, one of those is the way they don't bathe.
Well, wow. Is he wrong?
Well, Kidman's always scratching himself.
Raven says, if you're going to follow me, the first thing you must do is hand over your soap. So, Mongo wins. Horus hits him with these stop signs. We can get concussions on this show, too. He and Sick Boy are putting the boots to him when Malenko makes the save. Okay. All right. So we're teasing a Horseman reunion or a new version because Malenko's in there now. So there's two guys from the flock and two potential Horsemen. So you think, okay, the Horsemen clear the ring and we'll do whatever. Why was Saturn out there?
Who cares?
Saturn runs out.
I've hit my wall.
He pushes Malenko. He tries a tope on a horse. Rather than catch him...
On a horse?
It would have been better on a horse.
He would have caught him.
Horus, rather than catch him, throws a stop sign at him in midair, and then everyone just falls down.
And the stop sign did not make contact?
I don't know.
The only thing that made contact was Saturn and the floor.
Who gives a shit? Scott Norton and Rick Fuller.
He's not a Horseman yet. Scott Norton and Rick Fuller had a match that could have been awesome. It went 1 minute, and Norton won with a bad powerbomb.
Okay, so I'll just give it away. They're building up a bunch of Goldbergs so Nash can beat all of them before he gets to Goldberg.
Yes.
It's funny because it makes sense. It's so fucking stupid.
It is.
Oh, my God.
We'll get to it, but it's very stupid.
You know, I always watch Nitro first, and when I watched this Scott Steiner segment with his burnout doctor, I was like, show is just like, it's so terrible. I don't know why I watch it. It's like the worst show I've ever seen. After watching Raw, I look back and it's like, dude, this was good.
I described it as unwatchable.
Did you watch Raw or Nitro first?
I watched Raw first.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, after Raw, this I accepted after Raw.
Well, you liked it. Why didn't you describe it?
I didn't like it. I hated it the first time. But after I watched Raw, I was like, I'll take this.
Well, show me, Brian, what was positive about this.
Well, nothing.
Beyond that, it was not Raw.
Steiner came
Name
out.
one good thing that happened here.
I mean, just the irony that Steiner's character's got a gimmick doctor. I mean, it's incredible. The best part is, Steiner, he goes, his doctor goes, you can't wrestle tonight. Or Steiner goes, Doc, I can't wrestle tonight, can I? Why? I forget how he set it up, but the doctor doesn't know the answer.
Because...
And so Scott goes, it's because I'm hurt. And the doctor goes, all right. He's a burnout.
Yeah.
So Tony starts burying this doctor.
As he should.
Fucking Heenan. No, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. Heenan buries the doctor. Tony starts sticking up for the doctor. Tony Schiavone in the show. I'm pretty sure this was the show where, like, he was given no format. He didn't know what was going on. He was just trying to get through this fucking show. Scott calls out Rick. It's Bagwell. Tony Schiavone just says, we've been duped again.
Yeah. They did this once before.
Another horrible, terrible skit. I wrote here, how did people not turn to Raw? Now that I've watched Raw, I know the answer. They turned and turned back.
Why did no one turn to baseball or football?
Scott tells him to roll over and play dead, then pinned him. And I wrote, fuck this show. So I didn't like this segment, but it was still better than Raw. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I forgot how bad the show was.
Lex Luger and Bryan Adams. Fuck this match.
Who?
Fuck this match.
No, the bigger question. Who? That's something people don't understand, okay? First off, if you haven't read Death of WCW, it's available, hardcover, softcover.
Right.
It's on Amazon.com. There's an audible version where I read it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a little bit of spoilers here. They had, like, 300... I was almost going to exaggerate. I want to try and be honest here. They had, like, 380 people under contract. Some fucking preposterous number of wrestlers under contract. Somebody took that goddamn list. And they were like, let's put Lex Luger and Bryan Adams together in the ring. Let's give him 12 minutes. On a 3-hour show, we got time to kill. And the funny thing about this match, they stalled forever.
Yep.
I was so fucking angry at all of this stalling. But then they started wrestling. And I was so fucking appalled that they were wrestling.
Go back to
they
stalling.
couldn't win for losing here.
The Bryan Adams from Canada that plays guitar would have been a better opponent.
Positive. Adams did the longest head scissors I've ever seen on the mat. Followed by
dude.
the longest nerve hold.
Dude, all of this match for 10 minutes, it was 4 minutes of stalling and then laying around on the mat. I promise you, I burned more calories typing a description of this match than Bryan Adams did wrestling it. This was
the Lex Luger that 2 weeks ago won the title from Bret Hart in like
Absolutely.
a great Nitro moment. The best moment since Goldberg won the title. Now he's facing Bryan Adams in the worst 10-minute match I've ever seen.
This was as long and draining and boring in 10 minutes as all 6 hours of Slam and Slammer at the pre-show was. Just a marathon to get through. Just a death march.
This match cut like a knife.
Thank you, Craig. So finally Lex makes his comeback. And it's amazing. It is amazing. No matter how many times they kill Lex off, no matter how many times they drop the ball with him, at least he can get the people in behind him just by calling for that damn rack. Lex really was astounding in that way. Eventually, he fought off interference from Vincent. He hit the torture rack. He won. And as terrible as this match was, as soul-draining as it was, the people were happy they got to see Lex Luger rack somebody. Had a Warrior hype video, and then Warrior came out for a promo.
Oh my God. Listen, I hesitate to say this because he actually did pass away. The fact that he lived 19 years after this promo, all he did was come to the ring. He was gasping for air. He was gasping for air, cutting a promo. And then later in the show, he actually did a couple of moves, and I thought he was going to collapse. I could not believe how unhealthy this guy looked in 1998. Fans are already turning on him. Some of you don't remember this, but like in the late 90s, early 2000s, Warrior had a website. Do you remember some of the things that he used to post on his website?
Yeah.
It was like he took the thesaurus and just found the most preposterous... He wrote something and then spent hours going through and finding the most preposterous word to replace everything that he wrote. It was indecipherable.
It was like, because he was a smart person, but he always played just a lunatic on WWF television, he wanted to overcompensate.
Oh, did he ever?
So he is out here rambling on about how he wants to start a revolution based on magnificence, not malfeasance.
As we said,
There was other alliteration in there.
fans are booing.
Oh, he's just going on and on.
And the Ultimate Warrior told the fans to have some patience.
He loses his train of thought. He just stops talking for a while.
The Ultimate Warrior told fans to have some patience?
The guy that sprinted to the ring.
What?
He just goes on and on. It's so bad. And finally, there is smoke, and he vanishes. This did not make me want to see Hogan Warrior 2, and it sure as hell did not make me want to watch Warrior cut more promos over the coming weeks.
White noise in his entrance damn near put me to sleep, but unfortunately I stayed awake.
The only good thing on either show
Yes.
was Chris Jericho and Kurt Hennig.
This was great.
It was awesome.
It was great, but I got to say one thing about it. Back in the day when you had studio shows, and they were like an hour long, I understand having a 10-minute time limit,
Sure.
but they got a 10-minute time limit for the TV title in an hour-long show,
3-hour show.
a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't care. I got to watch something fun with talented performers.
Yeah.
That is true.
So the story here is they are both heels, but Hennig is basically he's a jock, and Chris Jericho is a dork. He's a little twerp out there. So Hennig is kind of amused by Jericho's wackiness, but he's also insulted that this silly little man with a wacky haircut calls himself a champion. Jericho is insulted by Hennig's lack of respect, that he is the television champion of the world, and he won't take Jericho seriously. So it starts off kind of lighthearted, but then Hennig slaps him. Jericho slaps him back, and suddenly they just start beating the piss out of each other.
Yep.
They're yanking each other around by the hair. It's a fight now. This is awesome. They counter each other's finishers for a bit. They're having a brawl. The bell randomly rings as a time limit draw. I'm sure it was not 10 minutes. It was probably 7:41.
Felt like about 3.
Yeah. They throw it on the ref and keep fighting, and then it's back to Bullshitville. So the Giant is in the NWO Hollywood, as is Kurt Hennig. Chris Jericho is a free agent, although he's not a candidate, I guess, to fight on Team WCW. So Giant comes out, and Hennig is holding Jericho, inviting Giant to hit him, but Giant instead throws Hennig to the ground. Jericho leaves, and Giant and Hennig bicker at each other as they go to the back. What's going on?
Dissension.
Well, the way they described it was that Giant and Jericho have a connection that overrules Giant's relationship with the NWO.
Why do they have a connection?
I'm pretty sure they're both going to WWE, so they're buddies now.
It's foreshadowing.
Yeah.
They are setting up their tag team championship run in like 2010.
It's Jericho.
I hadn't
here.
thought of that.
Yep.
Jericho here in
Thank you.
98.
Oh, I apologize to both you men. You're I did not give you enough credit for the long-term story planning of Jericho. This is awesome now.
Yeah.
This is the best segment.
I told you. So let me talk about this next segment very quickly. Bret's out for a promo. He calls out Booker T for a match. No Booker T. Cut backstage, Booker is laid out. Stevie then storms out demanding to know what happened. This is another example where the announcers, I don't think, were clued in to anything on this show. Because the very first thing Tony says is, did Stevie Ray lay out his own brother? Because I'm sure he assumed that's what happened.
Yeah.
But in fact, we don't know. We have no idea what happened. Stevie and Bret are arguing. The NWO comes out. Stevie joins the NWO. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Thank you.
So do I skip to the next segment then, or
Unless you got more to say about this.
no? That's what happened. It took much longer to happen in real life than you summed up there. Did you catch when Stevie Ray was pondering whether to join the NWO and Bret said, "Come on, be a buddy"?
Bret so does not care.
No. Why would he?
Shivani at this point notes you need a scorecard to keep track of what's going on Nitro. That's not good.
No. Did he add that's not good?
No, I said that.
Oh. It'd been nice if he would have.
Hulk Hogan and Giant versus Kevin Nash and Goldberg. We had Nash and Giant going one-on-one for a while.
Do you remember on that last show with the Raw show that we reviewed, and I talked about that Hell in a Cell match, and how I had no memory of it whatsoever?
Mm-hmm.
Hogan and Goldberg got in the ring together.
Yeah.
And I thought, I have no memory of this whatsoever.
Nope.
So it probably sucks. And turns out I was right. This was the first time they were in the ring together since Goldberg beat Hogan.
Yeah.
They didn't do jack shit.
Oh, I totally forgot about the finish here until right now.
Goldberg was rendered inept in this match. He didn't have any of his fire. He looked like just a guy in with these other just a guys.
So they're doing this match, and Disciple cuts Goldberg off with a belt drop from the floor. I'm thinking, okay, he's a sneaky heel. Maybe the ref didn't see it. Then Kurt Hennig and the Disciple are attacking Kevin Nash on the floor.
Whose belt, by the way?
I guess Goldberg's.
Yeah.
Should someone be holding on to that damn thing?
Apparently not. Not who can withstand the power of the Disciple. So they're attacking.
That was way funnier than it should have been. I think I've just lost it.
So Hennig and the Disciple are attacking Nash on the floor. And I'm thinking, okay, that's two guys not in the match attacking a legal participant, but maybe it's because he's on the floor, so the ref is not going to call for the DQ. Then they hit the ring. There's four NWO guys now fighting Nash and Goldberg.
Did you watch the referee during this?
No. May I just get to the finish before
I'm
you
sorry,
say what you're gonna say?
I apologize. Go ahead.
It won't take me long. There's this huge brawl. Luger runs out. Conan runs out. In the melee, which included some guys just turning and stepping out of the ring just because, Goldberg spears Hennig. Goldberg jackhammers Hennig. Goldberg pins Hennig. And the ref counts 3.
Yeah.
That happened.
What the fucking fuck?
Because this show sucks.
Now,
He pinned a guy who wasn't in the match.
Yeah.
Apologize for interrupting. The floor's yours.
No, the referee, while all this was going on, it was like a guy that knew he should be doing something, but he had to follow the script. He looked bewildered. There was garbage hitting the ring because the fans knew it was complete BS, and this ref just had to stand there and look like a moron because he didn't disqualify anybody.
No. And then he countered a hit on a guy who was not in the match.
That's the best part. The guy was in the match, he got pinned.
And
A no DQ match where you can pin anyone.
and Tanay
What an
was,
angle.
Why didn't you put a fan then?
He may well
This
have.
fan's got an NWO shirt
Should have pinned that
clearly.
damn ref.
and Tanay was forced to say 158 for Goldberg.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This counts.
Yeah.
Dude, wait till Sid starts losing and it counts as a win. This is the least of our worries.
So this time Nash accidentally hits Goldberg. Then Goldberg brawls with Giant. Giant knocks him out of the ring. Warrior, Page, and Piper run down.
This was, honest to God, the last 30 seconds of this show were good.
Okay.
Okay, first off, I got to see DDP running,
Sure.
followed by Warrior running,
Yes.
followed by DDP, or I'm sorry,
Piper.
Roddy Piper running.
Combined age 206.
They all made it to the ring.
Yeah.
Okay. Warrior starts running wild on guys. Piper starts running wild on guys. The fans absolutely lost their shit. And I was like, you know what? Hey, if it works, it works. Now, I realize I could say that about Raw, but I don't want to give him any credit. But this worked, so I'm going to give him credit.
I just thought it was funny that these three men stood tall in the ring and they weren't even involved in the main event.
No.
Now we're setting up war games, baby. The worst war games ever.
Show ends with Team Old, Page, Piper, and Warrior. They have cleared the ring. Goldberg and Nash are bickering on the floor, and the show goes off the air. Now, I will say one thing I'm happy about it, that I watched this. There is a photo out there. It's easy to find if you want to, but it is Goldberg, Piper, Warrior, and page, just posing for a photo together backstage, and they're all smiling. But it surfaced like years after WCW died, and I was just looking at this thing, just saying, "What? When the fuck did this happen? What is this quartet? When were they all in the same room together?" I had totally forgotten that they were in fact
Now you
Team
know.
WCW. So yes, it had to have been after this event.
Listen, everybody, I hate to do this, but we're going to watch War Games. We're going to watch that War Games match.
By this, I assume you watch the 1987 version again.
No, we must watch it. And then, I think Vinny and I already did this, but we're going to watch Hogan and Warrior again later. These matches must be watched, okay? It's ways down the road.
I hate you right now.
Fear not. You'll thank me after you see the log roll spot.
You know, I don't want to talk about this Nitro. Should we talk about more podcasts instead?
No, we got to do it. I mean, I'll talk about whatever, but...
Nitro number 155, August 31st, 1998, because it was on Monday. NWO Hollywood comes out for a promo.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something before we started the song. Then I forgot to deliver. That Raw show was on Saturday. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That means this fucking Nitro was unopposed.
Yes.
They had the opportunity to show all of those viewers that tune in Monday nights who had been watching Raw but had nothing on Monday. They had the opportunity to show them the best of WCW. Maybe they could convert some of those Raw viewers into Nitro viewers if they put on a great show. This is what they presented the people. And by the way, there were segments on this show that set all-time cable viewership records because the show was unopposed. Let's talk about what they gave these people.
NWO Hollywood comes out for a promo because, of course, they did. Bischoff again said his pen was the most powerful weapon in the world. Promised Eddie Guerrero would wrestle tonight, and Warrior would not. Hogan then announces his partners for the War Games match.
That's right. There's a War Games match coming up. There are 3 teams, and each of the teams has 3 men.
Yeah.
For example, the WCW team is the Warrior, who they kept calling the Ultimate Warrior, which got bleeped out live, but not on the network. The Ultimate Warrior, Diamond Dallas Page, and Rowdy Roddy Piper. Who were Hulk Hogan's partners, Vinny, in the War Games?
Well, he goes through, talks about how he's got all his friends in the NWO, black and white, all his NWO whites. He picks Bret Hart to be one of his partners. And then, out of the whole roster, and off the top of my head, I just started writing names down. Not the Giant. Not any of the Scots. Not Hall, Norton, or Steiner. Not Kurt Hennig. Not even Buff Bagwell. Stevie Ray.
Who wasn't even on the show.
No.
Where the fuck was Stevie Ray?
Better things to do.
Stevie Ray.
Stevie Ray.
Stevie Ray. I mean, I guess he needed somebody to do a job, but holy fuck. Are you kidding me?
Hogan said Warrior was a coward who had been running for 8 years, called him to come out right now. Warrior obliged, and when this light show started and the smoke came out and this guy stepped on a stage, I was 100% certain this was going to be Renegade in disguise. But no, it was actually Warrior.
Who actually got a very big pop when he did his magic show.
Yeah. So he comes down to the ring, and now the NWO has the ring surrounded. Hogan says, "They're all here to see me crucify you." And Warrior says, "Speak to me, my warriors." The lights go out. The ring fills with smoke. And when the lights come back on and the smoke clears, Warrior is gone.
And the Warrior's signal is projected onto the ceiling.
Yes.
And everyone chanted for the guy.
Sure.
So, you know, I got to give him a little bit of credit. They figured out this fucking guy talking is death. And so, let's have him not talk and just show up and disappear. And lo and behold, it worked better. They didn't do everything wrong.
No. Speaking of, they showed Goldberg doing an appearance with the St. Louis Cardinals and Mark McGuire. This is in the middle of McGuire chasing the home run record. He was pretty much the biggest thing in sports at the time, so this is a big deal. Wrath versus Jim Powers.
the Wrath push towards Kevin Nash killing him continues.
Wrath had a great look. That's about it. He beat Powers up in a boring manner. He won with a pump handle power slam.
This reminds me of the 1994 Royal Rumble that Filthy Tom and I reviewed on last week's Filthy 4 Daily, where Vince McMahon is doing commentary. And he's in the middle of steroid scandals and just everything else. He's beaten down. All of his guys are leaving. Sid's gone. Hogan's gone. It's just a disaster. Flair's gone. He's he's horrendous on the mic. He's doing commentary for this Rumble. And number 30 is Adam Bomb. And Vince McMahon with a straight face says, Adam Bomb is going to win the Royal Rumble. Which he fucking did not do. This goddamn match. Is it that hard to open up Nitro with like an exciting cruiserweight battle? To like get the people going and excited for the rest of the show?
Or even an impressive dominant squash.
This was Wrath versus Jim Powers for like 5 fucking minutes. It was so boring.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Correct. You're correct on all counts. Me and Gene and some of the Nitro girls were in Ohio for the latest Nitro party thing.
They're at a high school gym. And they've got a bunch of high school players all outside salivating for the Nitro girls. And I'm like, this sounds like trouble.
Norman Smiley versus Scott Norton. Norton, another squash. A much better one, actually. Norton had the match won a few times, but kept pulling Norman up and finally hit a powerbomb and won.
Another future Nash victim, I'm sure. He's building up all the monsters so he can beat him.
The lights started to flicker and then went out. I can't see diddly, Larry Zbyszko complained. And then I think Warrior appeared on the rafters, although it was hard to see.
Warrior did appear in the rafters. They've now decided that what will get him over is to make him Sting last year.
Mike Tenay did a pre-taped interview trying to talk to Lodi and Saturn.
Oh. This was horrible.
It was very, very bad.
Like, God bless Saturn. But he's explaining he lost a match. And he's got to be Lodi's slave for a month.
He agreed, per the steps of the match, that if he lost to Lodi, he would be Lodi's lackey.
Okay. So Saturn explains, I am a man of honor and integrity, whether Raven is or not. I am a former Army Ranger. I live by a code. I will not be raped of my dignity. I tried so hard to just be as generic and boring as possible. I didn't even come close to...
You blew him out of the water.
Dasha would have blown this guy out of the water. This promo that he cut right here.
You need to mumble more and enunciate less, I guess. Be quieter. Yeah, it was terrible. It was a terrible promo by Perry Saturn here.
It was so generic and monotone and lifeless. Where's Dasha been, by the way? She's vanished.
I don't have an answer.
Yeah, you don't watch it.
No.
I don't see her either, so I don't know what happened.
Wolfpack came out for a promo. Same shit they say every week.
Can we talk about Lex's goatee?
Lex in a beard does not work.
It's not even a beard, it's a goatee.
Yeah.
He's got blonde hair and a black goatee that he's growing.
Oh, that's one of the reasons it didn't work.
It's fucking terrible. What was he thinking?
I don't know. He wrestled for 20 years, and I think he had this goatee for about 3 weeks or so here.
So Nash is standing in the ring, and Luger is there, and Sting, I think Sting was there. Maybe not.
They said Sting was on the way.
Yeah.
Lex did say that.
Yeah. But anyway, Conan's there as well. And Nash is talking about how we have to have 3 guys for this match. But we've drawn straws. And so the 3 guys are Lex Luger, Sting, and Kevin Nash. Shockingly, they didn't choose Conan.
No.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Hogan chose Stevie Ray, but they did not put Conan in. So Nash begins to run down Team WCW. Warns Page to pick a side. Says he's had run-ins with Roddy Piper in the ring and in the back. And then just starts to tell a story about 4 wolves eating a warrior.
Basically, he was telling the Warrior that if Warrior didn't ride with the wolf pack, he would be hunted by it.
I see.
That's what he said.
Tony Schiavone is in the ring to interview J.J. Dillon. J.J. Dillon says, I want to have Arn Anderson come out here so we can have an off-the-record conversation.
An off-the-record conversation.
On live TV watched by millions.
6 million human beings.
In front of buildings surrounded by tens of thousands of people. So Arn comes out, and JJ says, I got a bunch of old tapes in my office. I found this old tape the other day. I want you to watch it. And what this was Arn Anderson's promo introducing himself to the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling TV audience in probably about 1982. Somewhere around there. He talks about this young fella named Arn who had a much deeper southern drawl than the Arn Anderson I know from the past 20 years. Talks about Gene and Ole Anderson running wild through the business, driving everyone out of the territory, and now the youngest, best-looking Anderson of them all is on the scene.
Yeah, for once in his life, he cared about being good-looking.
He was the pretty boy.
It was so un-Arn.
He was prettier than Gene and Ole.
Well, he was definitely prettier back then than Gene and Ole.
Yeah.
And he was prettier then than he was during the show as well.
That's also true. So he runs down Dusty Rhodes and Ricky Steamboat Magnum TA and laughs and cackles, and honestly, it was a great promo.
That's a very good promo.
For
they go back and Arn's like, where the hell did you find that?
Yes.
He wants to watch more of them.
So JJ says this tape is at least 15 years old. 15 years ago, he had gone to bat for Arn to bring him into Mid-Atlantic and then to bring him into the Horsemen. He said as long as the Horsemen were around, WCW would always be okay. What the hell? The 4 Horsemen were always good company men?
Well, to JJ they were.
You know what? That's a strong point. I hadn't thought of it that way. So they bring out Steve Mcmichael and Chris Benoit. Arn shakes their hands, and the three of them have a huddled conversation away from the mic that actually was off the record. And then Arn walks away and starts to leave. Dillon runs him down and asks where he's going. Arn looks down at his crippled, withered left arm and asks JJ, why are you doing this to me? And JJ says, Arn, you're just afraid. And Arn hangs his head and walks away.
I got to say, this was a hell of a build to the return of Ric Flair.
It was.
Yeah. Which is coming up in 2 weeks, if I recall.
Played into literally 15 years of history. They replayed that awful Eddie Guerrero work shoot promo from 2 weeks ago.
All right, here's the question. Was that fucking promo worse than this fucking match, or what? Because I'm not sure.
Oh, the promo was much worse.
Oh, really? Then this match, this fucking Bryan Adams-Eddie Guerrero match was so it killed the show.
Well, kinda. Because, you see, Eddie Guerrero didn't want to wrestle. He was contractually obligated to wrestle, and he was not, as he would later explain, he was not going to get sued like some people had. So he did the absolute bare minimum to fulfill his legal contractual obligation. He went to the ring. He laid down for a while. Adams would not pin him. He dared Adams to hit him, and he would cover up and defend himself, Eddie would, but he would never fire back. And this went on for a while, and finally, Adams got bored, as was everyone else, and Eddie was laying in the ring, and Adams put a foot in his chest and pinned him. Was this fun to watch? No. Did it make sense? Yes.
Kind of. If you're contractually obligated to wrestle, and you go out there and do this, I mean, if I'm Bischoff, I file a lawsuit against the guy. You're not doing your job.
How can you prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, he was not giving his best?
You show every other Eddie Guerrero match ever and then show this one?
Well, they are all better than that.
That's a pretty open and shut case right there.
He appeared, the bell rang, he was present and accounted for.
This fucking sucked, Vinny. It was horrible.
All I know is I've seen 200 matches where guys have been forced to wrestle, and I always think, why don't you just lay down and get pinned?
Well, he tried. So I guess you finally got what you wanted.
I did. Even Larry was like, you can just walk out and take a count out loss if you don't want to be here. I guess that would count as that would be a breach of contract, but getting pinned would not be.
Why? It was a count out in the main event. That's not a breach of contract. You walked away. The guy should go get you.
I don't know.
It sucked. Can we move on?
Eddie was ranting about it in his promo, and they cut his mic. They showed the cat laying out Disco Inferno on Thunder.
Yeah, what the world was needing was an Ernest Miller heel turn. Who could possibly care?
So Ernest's gimmick is that pro wrestlers suck. He knows karate, and he's a badass. He keeps saying, in this ring, there's one wrestler and one world karate champion. This led to Ernest Miller versus Riggs. This sucked. All Ernest did was kicks. Timing was off on all of them. One was supposed to be the finish, and it was so bad, like even as Kat's making the cover, everyone starts to boo. So Riggs kicks out, and Kat hits the kick again and wins this time. Cuts a promo saying he is a karate champion and nobody can stop him.
You know, you can add Ernest Miller to the list of guys that includes Steve Mongo Mcmichael, who are getting worse and worse every single time they get in the ring. Do you remember when Ernest Miller debuted? It was weird because I remember Ernest the Cat Miller being absolutely fucking terrible. And then I went back and we watched his debut and I was like, that's pretty good. That was pretty good. Well, the more experience he gets, the worse he is in the ring. I don't know how it's possible, but I know he's pulling it off. This was horrible.
Back at the Nitro party in Ohio, an anonymous football player revealed his NWO shirt underneath his football jersey. Another one said Wolfpack would win War Games. And then there was the skinny dork there in Sting makeup. And Gene says, "What's up with you?" And the young man says, "I am the Stinger, baby." And Gene says, "Sure you are."
I love Gene. All right, you ready?
I have not yet recovered from this match to discuss it. I may never be the same. Conan versus Marty Jannetty.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've talked about this before. Because whenever there's a team, and we all know these days teams don't last forever, they're going to break up soon, and everyone argues which guy in the team is Shawn Michaels and which is Marty Jannetty. And I have said for years, this is unfair, because Marty Jannetty was a really, really good pro wrestler, and it's not fair to compare him to Shawn Michaels, the best of all time. That said, it is 1998. Marty Jannetty is Marty Jannetty, a guy who can have a good match in the opener, lose, and move on with life. And that's all he's ever going to be from this point forward. Conan is not a tippy-top guy, but he's friends with the top guys.
He's a member of the Wolfpack. He's a main. He's not a main eventer, but he's a
star.
Top guy. He's a star.
He is a star. He is on this show every week, winning every week. Why did I have to watch Marty Jannetty beat up Conan for 10 minutes? In his hometown. This is in Miami. So, I was wondering why I had to watch this in 1998. And then by the end, I was like, this match was in 1998, but it began in 97 and ended in 99. It just went on and on and on. It was never any good.
Did you get the actual time?
9 minutes and 7 seconds, bell to bell.
It was 9 minutes and 7 seconds. I swear to God, if you watch this match, it was an hour long. It went on forever. It was so boring. The fans were chanting boring. Conan did nothing but sell, and he was completely blown up.
You said it felt like an hour watching it. It felt like 3 hours for him wrestling it. He was gone. Marty hit 1,000 moves in a row, I'm sure. And then Conan hit a kick, a horrible X Factor because he was all blown up, and through great difficulty, I mean, he could barely stand at this point, he hooked the Tequila Sunrise for the win. I went minus 2.5 stars, and I think I was generous. I think this is worse than that.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but it was inconceivable to me that Marty Jannetty could have a match this boring. But he did. It was horrible. The show was dying at this point.
I could not give this a strong enough recommendation if you do not watch this program. And then...
Oh, my God.
Okay, all right. We have been talking about this fucking Raven, Saturn, Canyon feud for a while. And in hindsight, it's clear to me that this is actually a worse storyline than Taker and Kane in cahoots.
Oh, yeah. It just doesn't get as much attention.
It doesn't matter because it's lower on the card.
Yes.
But it's worse.
Well, it's worse in a lot of ways because, like, stuff is apparently happening on Thunder and the pay-per-views, but they're not bothering to tell us about it on Nitro. So we've been watching this goddamn program, and all of a sudden this week, Canyon comes out with Raven and Saturn and Lodi, and now Canyon is apparently with Raven, and he's a heel.
Canyon and Raven are buddies now. just magically. Saturn is forced to team with him. At least they explained that part. I feel the need to just read some of my notes verbatim here. Raven told Lodi to tell Saturn not to touch Raven and Canyon. Lodi told Saturn not to touch Raven or Canyon. Raven told Canyon to break Saturn. Canyon cut a promo making fun of Saturn's pride and integrity, daring him to hit him. Saturn wouldn't do it. Raven said he had to team with Lodi now. Saturn was sad.
I am astonished that you wrote that many words for that opening segment right there. So then they actually do a match. It is Saturn and Lodi against High Voltage.
Fuck you.
The first 3 words I wrote were, "This show sucks."
I wrote, "Oh, fuck you."
You know what? This is another one of those matches where it wasn't even that bad. It wasn't like it was a complete disaster in the ring. But it was Saturn working all by himself versus fucking High Voltage before a crowd that couldn't possibly have given a shit. They're getting more dead with each passing moment. Saturn hits a Death Valley driver. Lodi demands a tag. He gets the pin. It was unopposed. Can I repeat that again? There was no Raw on the other channel. And these fuckers sat down and wrote this goddamn show.
Yeah, the second consecutive negative star match. Shivani brought DDP out for a promo. Paige says he has a great team in Piper and Warrior. He runs down Eric Bischoff and Hollywood Scum Hogan, which he thinks is just so clever. He brings out Piper.
Well, I got a couple things to say before that. First off, he decides at the beginning of this to plug the Little League World Championships. And then he says, the Little League World Championships. How does he praise the winners of the Little League World Championships, Vinny?
I know what you're going to say. I forget his exact words, but I thought the same thing.
He says, and I quote, "Those boys jacked it out."
That's right.
I fucking fell out of my chair when I heard that.
That was not the best choice of words.
And then he's in the middle of plugging his team for War Games, and somebody in the crowd, there's 2 guys. They've got a sign that says, "Team WCW is taking down Hollywood." Now, that's a lot of words, okay? That's 6 words. Team WCW is taking down Hollywood. So when I said it was a sign, it was actually 2 signs because it's so many words. And there's 2 guys holding these signs up next to each other. But the signs aren't glued or taped together. And so the first sign actually says, "Team is down Holly." And the other sign says, I swear to God, "WCW taking wood."
I didn't catch that.
Oh, I fucking was dying. I was doing anything to amuse myself here. These guys thought they were so clever.
Oh,
so out comes Roddy Piper. He does his weekly horrible stand-up routine. He calls Hulk Hogan Baldy. Now, in the 80s, guys weren't allowed to call Hulk Hogan bald. It was a banned term. You could not call Hulk Hogan bald when you cut a promo on him. So now it's the 90s. They're in WCW. Piper is taking every opportunity to do so. Keep in mind, it still bothered Hulk Hogan, even though he'd been bald for a decade. He actually filed a defamation of character lawsuit against Vince Russo over it was a 2000 Bash at the Beach, where Russo cut the promo on him, and the thing that it wasn't the one thing, but one of the things that made Hogan so mad was Russo called him a big, bald bastard. That was part of his lawsuit. He was still so angry about that in the year 2000. Roddy's going on and on about how he's bald. Other than that, I have no idea what he's rambling on about. He's trying to get Bret to do the right thing, get out of Hogan's ass.
He's talking about stories about Bret Hart from 20 years ago. Working for Stu and this young kid comes up to him and says they're related. And I thought, what's happening? So he's running down Bret and running down Bret and running down Bret. And Giant runs down. And Paige sees Giant coming. And Paige and Giant are brawling in the ring. 700 pounds of human being having a fight. Piper's oblivious. He just keeps on going.
Well, to be fair, I buy that.
Sure?
Just gonna tell you.
Sure.
It's not impossible that happens.
It's still not a good thing. So eventually he realizes what's going on, and Giant destroys them both. And security comes out to stop him. They handcuff him. The crowd's chanting for Goldberg, and Giant just says, Bischoff will bail me out.
I mean, what happened, everybody, is Giant ran down. He killed DDP and Piper like a bunch of geeks. That's what happened.
And he's not in the War Games.
No, he's just a guy.
Stevie Ray is instead. Okay, it's been like 3 weeks now. Does this Scott Steiner and his fucking burnout doctor thing ever have a payoff or, don't forget that, an end? Does it ever stop?
Well, it does eventually stop. I know that.
I am certain now that the Eric Bischoff Tonight Show skits were better than this fucking doctor. And any jokes are doing about this.
It's not even so much the doctor, but it's the whole rigmarole with Bagwell coming out every week as just a different geek. Now, well, let me say this. Dave buried Scott Steiner's promos, but you know what? He was never a great promo, but once he kind of figured it out, Big Papa Pump was an awesome character. And if you watch Steiner's promos like a month ago and you compare him today, he is getting better. It sucks that he's learning his job on national television. We have to watch it every week. But it is better. And it does get better. But the goddamn doctor is death. Bagwell coming out. This week he was dressed as a Jamaican. He's doing voodoo to heal Scott Steiner. Fans are chanting bullshit. It's just the most horrendous segment. He heals Scott Steiner. It was awful. But I can't completely bury it because Steiner was improving. But it did suck on television here.
So Rick comes out. He says, I'll kick Scott's ass on the 13th. The lights go out. Warrior is shown in the rafters again. This show is so bad. This show was so bad.
Well, funny you should mention that because next we had Hoovey versus Evan Courageous.
Yeah.
Evan Courageous had done like 1,000 matches on WCW Saturday Night. He'd never been on Nitro before. So they bring him out here in the third hour of the most ungodly, horrible show, and they have him wrestle for like 10 minutes against Hoovey. And all he did was moves. Fans are trying to get girls to show their boobs. Some of the girls did.
Yeah, you don't undersell that. The crowd at many points throughout this match, they all turned their backs to the ring and looked to the right. And they're all chanting at a girl over there or something. Maybe a girl was egging them on. I thought it was a fight at first, but clearly by the end it was women. Then they still their backs to the ring, but they look to the other side of the building to see what's going on over there. And there's cheers when girls will flash, and there's boos when I think they were getting taken away because the crowd was chanting "Let her go." Then they all cheered again because I guess the girl broke free and flashed everyone again, and they were all happy. This is all going on. Eventually, even Bobby Heenan can't ignore this, but because the announcers are never smartened up, he assumed like someone was coming through the crowd, and he panics and says, "What's everyone pointing at?" Pointing at boobs, Bobby.
Well, he probably watched this match and thought, surely somebody's going to run in and kill these two fuckers, because they can't possibly keep wrestling.
So eventually, the women stopped taking their clothes off. The crowd was forced to watch the match. They realized how boring it was. They let everyone know how boring it was. Went on and on and on. We had a chance of Take It Off. This pointless match just went forever. Heenan, who had been into this at first, in fact, Heenan said this Evan Courageous has a great body. He's going to be a big star someday. Can't win them all. By the end, he is furious about how these guys are refusing to go for pins.
Oh, my God. He started out as an Evan Courageous fan, and by the end of this match, he is just burying this guy.
Yes.
You gotta fucking go for covers, you idiot. Like, why do you keep just doing moves? He's so furious by the end of this. Yeah.
So Hoovey eventually wins with a Mcmichael driver, and then through one of the more pissed off victory celebrations you'll ever see, because he knew he just had a shitty match that nobody watched and everyone hated it. we go back to the Nitro party where Mean Gene Okerlund interviewed a high school phys ed coach. I guess it's better than most of the show. Maybe I shouldn't complain.
Oh, my God.
Disco Inferno versus Chris Jericho. Evan Courageous gets 10 minutes. Marty Jannetty gets 10 minutes. Disco and Jericho get 3.
And you know what's funny about it, too, is Jericho comes out and he starts doing this promo. And Tony Schiavone, God bless this guy, it's not his fault. But he fucking says, nothing ruins a night like Chris Jericho and a microphone. And I thought, this is the best fucking thing on this show so far. Like, I know that's your job to bury Jericho on the mic, but his interview and the following match was like the best 4 minutes of the entire show so far.
Yes.
And there wasn't even anything to it. It was a short match. Disco hit the chart buster. Jericho got his foot on the ropes and then put on the lion tamer for the submission. It was like good. I couldn't believe it.
It was 2 1/4 star. Kevin Nash came out to do commentary for Goldberg's match. Coincidence or not, Goldberg's opponent was Al Green, Kevin Nash's old tag team partner.
That's right, his first tag team partner, Al Green, getting a shot at the World Heavyweight title for fuck only knows what reason.
So this crowd, as noted, they had checked out like an hour ago. They were still in their seats, but they hated the show. And then out came Bill Goldberg. When he finally hit this spear, I was frightened by the crowd reaction. I was scared for the safety of the people in the building and the stability of my computer. I thought I might melt down, the white hot heat. And then he hit the jackhammer and won, and it was impossible not to think this. When Kevin Nash is out there, we all know what's coming. They fucking beat this guy.
Yeah.
It seems impossible. It is unimaginable. It's unthinkable.
Vinny,
but that's what happened.
They beat him in 4 months.
Yeah.
Not even a year from now.
I don't even think it's that long.
No, it's December.
Was it December? Okay, well, anyway.
Almost positive.
Yeah.
It's the end of this year.
I thought it was like in November. But anyway. Yes, it boggles the mind.
And you know what, too?
They had a whole company of guys to feed to him. They could have done Goldberg Hogan, then do Goldberg. They could have done Goldberg Nash, then Goldberg Sting, then Goldberg Lex, then keep building up Wrath. Do Goldberg Wrath. I don't know, but there's a whole company to feed this guy and keep him going for years.
There's 375 guys.
Yes.
Now here's well, go ahead.
That's just also it's tragic. It really is tragic.
Yeah, I've lived it many times. Now here's the thing. This show, as I noted, like, it did great business, and the rating was great. It hadn't hit them yet. These fans would buy their tickets to just see Goldberg kill Al Green. That's how over this guy was. This fucking show, can you imagine buying a ticket for this show? Can you imagine?
Well, no.
I can't either, but people did. It was Starrcade that he lost the title. Which, unless Starrcade was in November, it would have been in December.
No, because somewhere in there, he does have a brief... They brought in Bam Bam Bigelow.
Let's see. It was...
that's like World War III, I think.
December 27, 98, just like I thought.
Yeah. All right. A much better main event, at least on paper, than we got on Raw. Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart versus Lex Luger and Sting.
Well, the good news is they put in time and they had something resembling a finish. It was not an NWO run-in.
That's also true.
With that said, god damn, it was boring. And the best part of this match, actually, was before it even started. Hogan and Bret come out, Sting and Luger come out. Tony Schiavone decides he's going to put over this Lex Luger. And he mentions Luger no longer champion. And he says the following words. I swear to God, this is a direct quote. Very short U.S. title reign for Luger, but still a great one. Let me repeat that.
Oh, God.
Very short U.S. title reign for Luger, but still a great one. Then he explains he won it on Monday, he lost it on Thursday.
That's great. Oh, my God. This show's so terrible. So, one thing I noticed here, I've actually noticed it before. Sting, whether it was in singles or tags, when it was time for the comeback, he did not mess around. He'd do 3 or 4 punches, and then it was time for the Stinger splashes. Just go right to it. So he goes for a stinger splash. Disciple pulls Hogan out of the way.
Please stop. Mm-hmm. He hits a stinger splash. He goes for a second one, and Disciple has one fucking spot in the entire match. All he has to do is pull Hulk Hogan out of the way of the second stinger splash. He forgets his only spot. Sting runs. He sees the Disciple is out of position. He stops running. He punches Hulk Hogan. And then he goes back and he goes to run again. You could not have made him look like a bigger geek, all because Disciple couldn't remember his only spot.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. There's too much going on. I forgot to write that down, but that all happened. So Sting is down after missing the stinger splash. Hogan removes his weight belt and begins to whip Sting with it. But Bret, who has been claiming that he and Sting are pals, he hits the ring. He yanks the belt out of Hogan's hands, throws it to the mat, and walks out in disgust. Hogan, of course, is not going to let himself get shown up like this by anyone. He stalks Bret down the aisleway. They bicker. They get counted out.
Hey, at least it's a legitimate finish to a wrestling match.
It was. And involved the people involved in the match and not 47 other guys. Yet, because you see, Hogan and Hart get back in the ring. They begin to shove each other. Smoke starts to fill the ring, but then stops. All the other geeks in the Hogan crew come out to separate them. Then the smoke starts again. The lights go out. When they come back on and the smoke clears, Warrior is in the ring beating his chest. Hogan is kneeling in the corner, facing away from the ring in terror. Everyone else is dead. He's poisoned them, the Warrior has.
There is a noxious smoke that fills the air that only affects the heel wrestlers.
Yes.
It doesn't affect Warrior. Amazingly,
Hogan.
It didn't affect Hogan.
No.
Only the other geeks are affected. It's like geek smoke.
Perhaps in the main event of WrestleMania 6 in Toronto, the two of them took some sort of antidote. Or,
could have been.
Or
it is very possible.
Immune something. Anyway, so Hogan, when it goes into total cartoon villain mode, and for what it was actually very awesome and very funny. But his facials, because he's hiding his face against the middle turnbuckle as he's kneeling in the corner, and when he peeks his eyeballs up and they're bugging out and his eyebrows are arched, and he looks left and he looks right, and then slowly turns and sees his army laid waste to, I laughed my ass off. It was really funny.
I laughed my ass off when he ran up the aisle afterwards and turned to look at the ring with his Hulk Hogan comedy eyes wide, bugging out, selling.
He is a Bugs Bunny villain.
He is.
Okay, great. So yes, Hogan runs for his life. The one guy in the show who was not trapped in the ring, I guess either show is most of the guys on Raw who were trapped in the ring. But anyway, Hogan flees. He turns. The orange man has turned white as a sheet somehow, and he's terrified. And he sees Warrior again. He runs backstage, and the show ends. This is also horrendous. I am fairly certain this was worse than Raw, although I could probably be convinced otherwise.
It's hard to say. They were both absolutely terrible.
Dirt terrible.
And you know what? I had somebody who sent in something and they said, Raw does get better in late 1999.
Well, that's a year and a half away.
I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. It's so bad. And we all know Nitro's not getting better ever.
No.
So, I mean, the good news about late 1999 is I think that it's around that time that Nitro goes back to 2 hours at least. That's one positive. But, oh my God, another fucking year of this horrible shit? You guys better all appreciate this, because it's shortening my life.
I don't want to watch these shows. They're bad and hopeless.
We must do our job, Vinny.
All right.
We've been tasked by the Lord to review these shows.
The Lord, you say?
I don't know. All right, everybody, that's it.
I'm pretty sure these shows are a sign there is no Lord.